Freaking out, man. You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth.
What do all men in power want? More power.
My name is luca-zanna. I was an Italian by birth, and I became an American by choice. Our lives and freedoms are in danger. This is not a drill. If you're listening to this broadcasting, you are the resistance.
All systems go.
Welcome to Love, Guns, and Freedom.
We're not afraid.
Here we go, another Sunday, another show. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with luca-zanna on KTOX 1340 AM and on United States FM net. I must admit it. Before the show, I had 1 pound of pasta and 1 bottle of red wine, organic, and everything by myself. So I feel pretty warm. I feel pretty fuzzy and excited. Thankfully, if I was right now live and managing my little mixer, FCC would have probably fined me. But guess what? Since I'm recording and there is no FCC involved in this way, I'm having a great time. But you know what? I'm pretty serious when it comes down to business. Even, of course, I enjoy life and I try to enjoy my little meals. Today, we continue what I already started a couple of weeks ago, interviewing in Mohave County candidates who are running for the great position, the important position of Mohave County Sheriff. I know I have a lot of listeners from Italy, from Germany, other parts of the world. Probably they say, what is the sheriff? I mean, are you still in the Old West? Guess what? Yes, guys, we are in a great position when it comes down to this type of rights that we have. Unfortunately, when I was in Italy, I never had a sheriff. We were stuck with the state police, and that says it all. A centralized police that you cannot even elect. Instead, in these United States, we still have a chance in our counties, still have a right to vote for the county sheriff. In the, not just my humble opinion, but according to the Supreme Court also, case Mack Prince against the United States probably is the most important position as a constitutional authority to defend people's rights. So we can elect our sheriff, and the sheriff is the highest authority that we have in our county. That's why it's so important. That's why I want to spend so much effort and time to share with you, to give the opportunity to the candidates running for sheriff office to bring them on the show. And the show is not about, just give them a microphone, because after all, the show goes on the air on Sunday for 3 hours. That's fine. That goes away. No. The show also will be frozen. I like to visualize like almost a frozen recording of on YouTube for posterity. That means all the interviews that we posted now, whoever's going to be the sheriff that we will win, we will have them on record, or we will have her on record. And we will keep them accountable. That's why I think it's so important. And also I want for people, given the opportunity to know more about the sheriff. I want to disclose, we're going to have today a great lady. I met this lady about probably 5 years ago, and she was part of the sheriff department in Mohave County. And she was behind the desk, and I was there for business, as a constituent. I was pressing charges against the county worker that, according to my belief, he did an assault on me. And I tell you, I was very surprised to find out how professional she was. Seriously. Now, I didn't know this person. I had no idea. And normally when you press charges against another county worker, after all, the sheriff works for the county, or at least, the sheriff works for the people, but you know the story. They get paid by the county dollars. So I was very impressed. She was very professional. I had no idea. Then, of course, it's a small world. This county is a small place. And I realized that I knew the husband, or indirectly, I was a customer of the husband. And the husband is the owner, or she is also the owner, also, by the way, of a great gun manufacturing company that I really like and support. I like to support gun manufacturers, especially here in Arizona. And it's called Plum Crazy. So that's pretty much a little disclosure. Like I did disclosure, when I had the other candidate, that one of my guests that normally have on the show, Jim Leeson, is also the campaign manager for the other candidates. But that doesn't mean that when you come on my show, I treat you all the same. Friendship becomes private. Business, public business, for me is the most important thing. And that's why today I have the honor to bring you on the show. The only candidate running for sheriff who is a woman. And honestly, I couldn't care less if she was a trans. Seriously. All I care is she's a good constitutional sheriff. That's my goal. But you know what? I want to give it that twist. You know, it's kind of unusual to find a woman running for this position. Normally, everybody thinks, you know, must be a boy, must be a man. You know, it's a sheriff, is a macho guy situation. I don't think so. I think it's a person. Anyway, her name is Cori Merryman. Cori, are you there?
Yes, I am.
I had to shut up because, you know, I start to talk, I go too long, man, especially after a bottle of wine. Anyway, nice to meet you. First of all, because I always mispronounce every name, how did I do with your first and last name?
Perfect. Thank you.
Perfect. So that's, I need to almost make it wrong because I did completely butcher the first two candidates. So I'm glad I did right with you. Now, Cori, briefly, let's introduce yourself. I want to give you the floor. And my only goal here in this interview is to give you the opportunity to share who you are, what is your background, and more important, what you can offer, what you are going to offer to us, the constituents of Mohave County, if you're going to be elected sheriff. So let's start, first of all, with your professional background. Who is Cori Merryman, candidate for Mohave County Sheriff? Go ahead.
Wonderful. Thank you, first of all, so much for having me on your show. I really appreciate this opportunity to speak with you and to be able to reach out to the residents in Mohave County and the prospective voters. I actually became a resident of Mohave County about 18 years ago. I am also the first candidate, I must say, to announce my run for Mohave County Sheriff. I realized that there was definitely a need for change and feel that I'm the candidate that would be best suited for that position. Before I get into anything else, I need to tell you my foundation. I am a Christian, constitutional, conservative Republican. That is what governs me morally and ethically. I am not against any other religion. You have the freedom of your religion, whatever you choose it may be. That is what governs me morally and ethically. And I believe anybody, especially with what we are facing as a nation and as a county as well, should have a foundation and stand firm on it to help them make very impactful, important decisions that affect so many people. My first employment, I was actually a lifeguard Special Olympic swim coach respite coordinator for Lake Havasu City. And I served for them from the age of 16 to about the age of 20 years old. And during that time frame, I would also say that it was wonderful serving the community as a public servant. It's something that I've done for the past 18 years in every attribute of anything that I've seeked to do. During that time frame, I also actually became a pilot. I obtained a license for fixed wing. I'm no longer certified. This is a previous accomplishment that I achieved. The reason why I still bring it up is because at that age, it is very unusual to achieve something that is so profound.
Cori,
it's something that is...
Let me ask you something. I'd like to, one second, interact.
Sure.
Say again, what did you do as a pilot? What type of pilot? Airplane or helicopter? I didn't understand.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. I became a private pilot for airplanes, flying Cessna 172s.
Good. I'm gonna let you talk. Don't worry about it. I just like to interact a little bit because I had the same passion, and I was lucky enough when I was 21 to be able to become a pilot too. So I probably understand the thrill, or at least the joy to be able to fly. And tell me something. You had a single engine, or did you do double engine? Where did you stop? Different levels. Where did you stop at with your Cessna license, with your private license?
Just at the private, just single engine. And then I actually relocated out to California and transitioned into flying helicopters. And I really loved that. I flew Schweitzer 300 CVs, and I had a passion for that.
Okay.
And while I was out there, I also was the assistant manager for a 160-unit apartment complex, and I kept a 98% occupancy. So I was very proud about that. But when I returned back to Mohave County, because my heart belonged here, I just had this desire to return. I did not keep any of my certifications because there wasn't anything available locally at that time to do so, and I decided to move on to other areas. And but it was a great passion of mine and something that I'm very proud of.
Cori, you can always take some lessons. For example, I was thinking myself, I still have all the certificate of my license, and I know that after 3 months, if you don't fly or things like that, you need to get some other lesson, pass a test, and it's not that far. You can spend maybe a few more hours with an instructor and then pass another test, and you can always get reinstate your license back. Honestly, I may do that myself. You have a beautiful airport, by the way, in Havasu, right? In Lake Havasu, correct?
Yes, we do. Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. Go ahead, please. Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, that's okay. No, it's a prior accomplishment and a passion that I had, and I am proud of.
Now,
not something I'm really looking at this point to try to get back into. There are too many other areas that definitely need
question.
When a lot more help than worrying about myself.
you were when I met you the first time I met you, and I had no idea who you are. I mean, who you were. You were behind the desk. You were at the Mohave County Sheriff. I was there as a constituent, as a citizen, and I was asking for help, and you were there doing your job. And I really tell you, and I'm not telling you that because you're on the show. I'm always very honest. Ask to Sheriff Sheenan. When something I don't like, I say that aloud. You were very professional, and I tell you, I was very surprised because, you were doing exactly what you're supposed to do. And I was pressing charges at the time against the county. I was the security manager for the county. So that was kind of interesting. I liked the interaction we had at the time. And I had no idea that you were, of course, also involved in a gun business. So I was pretty impressed.
Yes.
But regardless. Now, when did you become, and why did you have the desire to become a sheriff deputy? At the time, you were a sheriff deputy when I met you. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, before I can get into that, very briefly, after I was a lifeguard, and once I returned back to Lake Havasu City, I worked for the Western Arizona Humane Society as an animal control officer. And I feel that's very important because that's one of the key reasons I was told as to why Mohave County Sheriff's Office recognized my talents and hired me as a deputy sheriff in 2006. And I attended Carlotta Central Arizona Regional Law Officers Training Academy and became a certified law enforcement officer. And that's really the starting point, I felt, my law enforcement career, because I had that experience working with the community, although in a civilian aspect, because law enforcement or animal control officers are not certified to do arrests. We would turn that over to PD. That gave me that foothold for that experience.
Now, speaking about animal control, because, I have some questions, of course, I will ask you like I asked to the other candidate, but I like to mix and match a little bit, There is a situation here, and I like to go straight to the point. You know that in Mohave County, we have an ordinance that if we own a dog, we must immediately, or at least as soon as possible, buy a tag for from the animal control, from the county. That means it's some sort of a dog registration. Think about gun registration. This is a dog registration. If we don't get a tag, we're going to get fined, and we also may have a misdemeanor. Now, my point is this one. If the dog, it is on my property, okay, is on my property, is not endangering anybody else, is not trespassing on public land, or at least on the street, why I should have the government to come to me and with the fear of a punishment, in this case going even to jail, beside the fine if I don't comply. I heard story people went to jail. I need to tag my dog. What next? Probably the cat. Like, for example, now they have in Bullhead. They have cat registration. And I always say, then at that point, the sky is the limit. Let's go for the chickens, and next going to be your children. Now, what is your position on this story of, not this story, this is not a story, this is a freaking, county ordinance. And of course, you're a sheriff, you're supposed to enforce the law. I'm not asking you to do other things, okay? But, as a person now, what do you think about the fact that now that the county can tax us and can punish us just because we own a dog? I always say we should be punished only if we commit a crime, not a general punishment, this collective sort of punishment. Just because we own a dog, now we got to pay a tax. In this case, it's a tax to the county. What is your position on that? Go ahead.
Well, my position on that is that, yes, we do have to follow the laws that are on the books. I understand your concern, Luca, that where does it stop? I feel the thumb down on me just like any other resident because that I am, and we do not need more regulations or restrictions. I had heard about the cat issue too, and what's next? Like you said, birds, chickens. But with the position of the sheriff, we have to enforce what's on the books. Anybody that has any concerns needs to address their city, their state legislators, because law enforcement officers' hands are tied. They have to follow the laws. That's our position, is to follow the laws. And as a sheriff, my personal opinion does not matter. I do have my own opinion. Mm-hmm. But my personal opinion, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
It really doesn't, Luca,
okay.
Because the focus is Mohave County.
Okay.
And we have to enforce the laws.
All right.
My opinion means absolutely nothing when it comes to what we have to abide by.
No.
So it's not just the sheriff election, it's the other elections around us that we have to take seriously.
Okay, I have the same question that I ask also to other candidates. It is, I don't forget what it is, but Rosa Parks was in the back of the bus, and she was breaking the law. There was a specific city or county or whatever state law that black people must be in the back. Now, she got arrested. And there was also a Supreme Court case in 1860-something anyway, that pretty much says that slavery was legal. You as a sheriff, would you have complied with the law? Would you have arrested Rosa Parks? Or would you have, I don't know, maybe said, I can't do that? I mean, after all, that was the law too. That was a very specific law. I mean, she went to jail, for God's sake. You got the floor.
She did. Yeah, you're absolutely right. She did go to jail, but any cases that are not either investigated or handled, that's what was done to her. I can't change what was done to her or the fact that she was arrested. But what I can stand on is what we can do from now on.
Mm-hmm. I remember something.
And the changes that we've made in our history, that's what we need to focus on.
Mm-hmm. But remember something, after all, you as a sheriff, you have the supreme law of the land that I'm sure you know about it, because also I heard you being endorsed by one of the one of the really the top sheriffs in history that we had here, Sheriff Mack, and then we'll go there in a little bit. And the simple thing is that every law that is against our basic foundation, it means U.S. Constitution and Bill of Rights, it pretty much can be null and void. I mean, after all, they can say tomorrow that the law that they need to round up everybody with the brown hair, or maybe they need to round up everybody who doesn't like, I don't know, a specific thing. Doesn't mean that you need to have to comply. So that's my point, There is always a basic foundation that all law enforcement, that I would like to call more peace officers, in my opinion, that they need to, first of all, comply. It's your oath that you took, more than one time probably, to defend this Constitution, and also our state Constitution, of course. So that's pretty much where I was going to, Yes, of course, when it comes down to the gun, to the dogs issue, I'm not asking you as a sheriff what you would do, but at the same time, think about it. You always have the chance to put your input out there, even if, of course, you are not there to legislate. After all, you are going there to enforce the laws. But also you can start to say, hey, wait a second, maybe I should put my priorities, my energy, my resources on going after really the bad people. If somebody has a dog, in this specific case, on their own property, and the dog didn't trespass, didn't kill anybody, but is there, minding his business behind the fence.
And he's just sitting there, behind him, okay.
Why should we go there after I heard cases, for example, people being terrorized, the animal control trespassing on their property and harassing the owners, and of course try to use this car that, of course, that they need to pay this tag. So this is just my little input, and I don't want to distract you from the other questions, but I think it's important because after all, even if you're there to enforce the law, at the same time, I think you still have your logic and common sense and prioritize things.
I do agree with you. You know, the dog isn't biting anybody, isn't off of your personal property, and we have so many other things that we do need to worry about.
I mean, if the dog was on the street, mauling, for example, the neighbor cat, yes, we have a problem, okay, or be in danger, that's fine. But if it's behind my doors, because the same logic, this is pretty much where I'm coming from. If there is no crime, there is no victim, should have been no crime. And now the government has this unlimited power to tax us, to tax on even our animals. We open this Pandora's vat with a dog. Next time it's going to be my chickens or probably your little cow. Seriously, why not tomorrow the county cannot do pass an executive, not executive, we're thinking about Obama, a county ordinance. We need to tax now and tag also the cows. Like, for example, there is already an animal ID tag in other states. So this is pretty much my little, I don't want to try to tell you what to do, but I want to just have an interaction with you, at least have some input, because I know you are a good person and probably, thinking with this stuff right now, maybe going to give you an opening to your thinking in the next future. Say, wait a second, maybe we have a situation here, seriously. Anyway, that's pretty much all I want to say. Please continue. I don't want to interrupt you too much. Go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. No, I agreed with you that we have so many other issues that we need to address than just that. But they're all important, like our drug issue, issues at the county. Can I go on about my other areas that I wanted to cover with you, Luca?
Yes. First of all, let me ask you one question, because let's say this is after all, you're looking for a public job, okay? So the people, the constituents, is going to be your boss, like it or not. I know probably you don't even need that job, because I know that in your life you are pretty successful. You got everything you need to do. You don't really need that stuff. But you want to do it, and then I ask you why you want to do it. But more important now, I want to give you like the microphone to say why the constituents of Mohave County should prefer you, voting for you, instead than all the other 5 or 6 candidates that are out there. What you going to offer? Give me 3 basic points that you're going to say, wow, we need to look for you. Go ahead.
Wonderful. I am the only candidate who owns a very large company. I manage over 627 accounts at our factory, our manufacture plant. I own E3 arms and some crazy firearms. My husband and I have been business owners for 15 years. So I understand what it takes to build something up from absolutely nothing. I have the much-needed energy left to address the many, many issues of the sheriff's office. We do zero-based budgeting at our factory, which is what exactly the county needs. They keep addressing tax hikes. We need to start with what we have first. And until we do that, I will not be comfortable approaching the citizens and residents of Mohave County, asking them if they would approve a tax increase, because that's not proper business practices. That is one major area that sets me apart, is that I'm still currently involved with the community. Number 2, I am not of retirement status, meaning that I provide jobs. I am still contributing to Mohave County. We provide a service, employment, manufacturing, and that's something wonderful and proven beneficial to the county. And I'm so glad that we run a successful business. Although it is highly regulated, I'm glad that we follow those regulations. Otherwise, we would have been shut down a long time ago. Anybody with common sense would realize that and know that we run a straight arrow business, because you have to. And so I have that foundation.
Okay, let me stop you 1 second. So first thing, just to sum it up, you have the record as a private business owner, as a co-owner, that, differently from what government does. Normally, government doesn't produce anything. All they do, they spend somebody else's money. That's what they do. So you make, you provide, you create, and you have a good tracking record that you are, private business, we know very well. If we don't have a product that works or a service that works, we're going to go out of business. So you have a good, successful tracking record that you can keep your book straight. That's important. You have management capacities. Great. That's good. Don't get me wrong. I think is very important, because I tell you, we need more people that they come from the private business. Now, the sheriff, though, after all, beside, of course, to keep your budget together, is more than that. I'm sure you know. Why you think really you're going to be different from other potential candidates? What is exactly your extra, I don't know, your extra strength that you're going to offer? Why?
I've served the community and not just the law. If you look at other candidates, I commend them for their service to Mohave County, to their other agencies for military service. But when you have somebody who's traveled down one track and haven't branched out, I've served the community in an aspect as a civilian too, working for the Lake Havasu City Aquatic Center. And I think that's very important, that when you elect your next sheriff, that you have somebody who has held a multitude of hats, who is highly accomplished, who has served in many different areas of the community, and not just one. And the other major issue is that every other candidate is collecting a retirement of sorts.
Okay.
So when you're dealing with a true conservative, what is the meaning of a true conservative? And I'm not against anybody collecting either a military retirement, law enforcement retirement, but that is to be a true conservative. When I separated from the sheriff's office, and I say separated because I was not terminated, I left on my own OR, realizing that we needed a change, and I have that business perspective, community servant, and law enforcement experience to back me, and worked for the agency I'm running for to understand the needs of the sheriff's office and the deputies that I served with, my brothers and sisters.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Yes.
You know, how many years did you serve as a deputy in Mohave County, as a sheriff deputy?
8.5 years. I was also a hostage negotiator during my time I served for Mohave County Sheriff.
Okay, perfect. So, and I know that also you have some decisions. I don't know. I would like to ask you now. Normally, let me tell you something. I don't care about your private life, because I don't care about any private life. That's your private life. The only thing I say to my guests when they're running for public office, there are some things that we should become more aware. Of course, I don't want to know about your personal relationship between you and your husband. I'm talking about things, for example, that could be on the open. And because, we're here as the voters, we would like to know more, and we have the right to know more. So why did you leave that position of deputy after 8.5 years? You're already pretty much a veteran. Why did you leave that position? Was it a business situation or maybe a family issue? What happened to you? What's going on?
Well, being involved with the community has always been my passion. When Sheriff Tom Sheehan decided to retire, I saw an immediate change with the Mohave County Sheriff's Office. Mm-hmm. And realizing that, I turned in my resignation to the Sheriff's Office. And there was also another large issue at the Sheriff's Office, and I understand that because I faced it myself, and that is that everyone is not treated equally. We need to change the culture at the Sheriff's Office so every employee, and not just at the Sheriff's Office level, but in Mohave County, so they're treated with the dignity and respect that they deserve and with the honor that they deserve for serving the community, and that they will be provided with the equal and great opportunities. A lot of the effort that they put forth, they will be given great opportunities at the Sheriff's Office for either advancement or extra areas of different departments that I would like to do. We need more specialty departments at the Sheriff's Office.
Okay.
But that also the residents will have that safety and security put first. That's definitely my number one.
Now I want to, let's dream together for a second, okay? At least for you, for sure, okay? Election time. Cori Merryman is the new Mohave County Sheriff. You go in tomorrow morning driving your car, and you go in, or probably they're going to give you the sheriff car, I'm sure, and you're going to go to your office, and you're going to say, wow, now I'm going to start to make things straight. What are the first 3 things you want to accomplish as a new Mohave County Sheriff that you really believe they're going to make a change in our community and in our Mohave County Sheriff Department? 3 things that you say, this is what I'm going to commit myself in the next 90 days since I'm taking office.
Absolutely. I am making a commitment within the first 90 days that we need to build the budget up from zero. We need to justify where the money's going, or we will not be able to give these hardworking, dedicated employees of Mohave County and the Sheriff's Office the much-needed raises that they need and deserve. We are losing all of these viable employees. Their training experience is going out the window. It costs over $100,000 to replace a deputy. So I do not think that the taxpayers want to continue to train people for them to leave to go to Maricopa County, Bullhead PD, KPD, like Havasu PD, because they offer other incentives. We are the Sheriff's Office. We're supposed to be the succeeding agency and represent the Mohave County as such and treat our employees as they deserve to be treated. And if they have other opportunities, it was never about money for me. I run a successful company.
Okay.
So that being said, I was able to make that decision.
Okay. Now,
stand up to run.
so we want to retain, of course, the problem that I heard also from other people, that people join the force and join the Mohave County Sheriff Department, they get trained, and then they start to look for better venues, for example, Bullhead or like Havasu, they pay more. So we have that problem. Okay, now, how are we going to find this money? This is, after all, comes from the Mohave County supervisor. They control the purse, for what I heard. Any idea what could you do to make this change? Because if they don't want to listen, so far, we have a lot of money that's being spent, in my opinion, very badly. We're paying, after all, as a good old socialist country here, for public cable TV. This is insane. We got a lot of money that they get spent for really useless things. So what you can do as a sheriff to say, I need more money here, and I don't want to increase the taxpayer load. We don't want to put more taxes on our back. What can you do? What you going to suggest?
Well, and that's exactly the number one issue is the zero-based budgeting, Luca. We need to build our budget up from zero because there is proven waste. And I can tell you that 54% of our budget comes out of the Mohave County Jail. And there are ways, if we do that instead of just pushing it through as we've done historically for so many years. For example, at our factory, I saved us over $10,000 in boxes because we were able to address our budget with our shipping and our labeling and our boxes. Yes, $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
So if you actually analyze it and build it up, it justifies where it's being spent. And that's something that we do not do. And the needs change. And we have to be that change. We need somebody who's actually been able to structurize a budget at that level, a multi-million-dollar status level, and understands that that's the type of mentality it's going to take. And somebody who has taken it on their own OR, as I've done with our company. Not somebody who's just been given something and said, oh, here, we want you to watch this or do that.
Okay. So
everything I've done, we've done on our own.
So you want to try to, of course, look at every way we can, I'd say, cut cost in the right, smart way. And I think you have that experience. I understand that. Now, talking about cost, this is just from a point of a constituent. When I found out this information, I was freaking out. Are you aware how much was the final bill for the new Mohave County jail that we have there? How much cost to us? How many million of dollars?
Way too much.
Okay.
I'll say that.
I heard.
Way too much.
I heard. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was about $70 million. Do you have the same number? Am I pretty close?
I don't have the exact number, but that's close enough.
Yeah. So, the first question, even without being a sheriff, and of course, this has been done in the past. You were just as a constituent there. But would you be curious to know what type of metal, if it was gold or silver, the handle and the bathroom of the jail was built with? Because I cannot think in Mohave County, one of probably the most humble county. It's a huge county, but it's not Beverly Hills, okay? It's not Beverly Hills. We are regular people, working people here. To have a jail that costs like almost as a budget of some islands when I was traveling around the world. Tonga was pretty much the same, global, they had the same budget, $70 million, it's a lot of money. Are you not curious to know exactly really how the money that were spent there a little bit? What do you think?
Right, and I definitely felt your pain on that one. It was definitely a very expensive bill. I do know that with the jail, they go by projection and population increase, and they wanted to make sure that they built an adequate facility for the prospective population increase for Mohave County. But a big question I had was the other, you had asked me to give you three major reasons.
Yes.
And number two is safety and security, but I have a reason to back that. As a deputy, and I have not been employed by Mohave County Sheriff's Office for almost 2 years, just shy of a few months. I'd actually say about 20 months now. So when you're dealing with the safety and security of the residents, we have one main jail. So if we can afford a almost $70 million jail, why do we not have two substations open? I mean, that is not adequate safety and security, not just to the residents, but to the deputies. You know, we do not have adequate patrol. We have approximately 86 sworn officers working for Mohave County Sheriff's Office. And if you have one making an arrest and they have to meet with a detention officer, does that create a safe environment for them, for you? I don't agree with that. I believe that the jail should have either been reopened or they should have built another facility, and that's been brought up numerous times at several meetings, and people concerned about it, rightfully so, that it's time. We need to make a decision. If we can afford that, what's the justification? And I have been told that the money is available to reopen them. So I just keep asking, why not? And I can't do anything until I'm elected. So
okay, so we have number one. You want to keep this budget straight. You want to start to give incentives to our deputies to stay in the force. Don't leave the agency, don't leave the sheriff department. Now, there is something probably, and this is all great stuff, don't get me wrong. We need to have people that they are motivated, to have enough money to pay bills and to stay in the county sheriff. Otherwise, we're going to have nobody. It must be something else. I know there must be something else. After all, otherwise, I don't think you really were looking for the endorsement of Sheriff Mack that I heard he gave it to you. And I don't think he gave it to anybody else. So give us exactly what's going to be the super magic card that's going to make you different from other candidates. Give it to us.
I am a proven constitutional candidate.
What does
offering my services to stand up to be elected Mohave County's next sheriff.
Okay.
And the reason is we need somebody who actually understands what the position entails of. So I had the wonderful opportunity of reaching out to Sheriff Richard Mack and having a great conversation. We actually drove down to Phoenix, me and one of my employees, and she drove down with me. By the way, she can assemble over 1,000 AR-15. She's an excellent assembler. And we just had a wonderful meeting together, and it was definitely not an easy endorsement to get, but we need to get back to basics. We need constitutional sheriffs sitting in those seats to represent Mohave County. And no, you're correct. He has not endorsed any other sheriff candidates in Mohave County. I am it. He's actually coming out to Mohave County to the Danbar Steakhouse on April 1st. It's no joke, although it does fall on April Fool's. I'm having a fundraiser party, and he is going to be there, and it's going to be amazing. And anybody interested in going can contact me either via Facebook or email at merrymanforsheriff.com, or you can call me at 928-412-0972 if I have any tickets left.
Okay, that's great. By the way, I want to post, I do that with every guest. I would like to post your website on today's show, lovegunsfreedom.com. People can go there and they can check you out and can take more information. And more important, I really think it's important that they can ask you questions in person maybe and going to the meeting with Sheriff Mack. I think it's a really important meeting. Now, this is the Danbar, and it is in Kingman, correct? Just double check for everybody. Okay. So give it one more time, please, slowly. the phone number so people can find out or where they can get the tickets, please?
928-412-0972. And it is a fundraiser to elect Cori Merryman for Mohave County Sheriff. And my guest is Sheriff Richard Mack. He is going to be my key speaker and supporter at the event, and it's at the Dan Bar Steakhouse in Kingman, Arizona on April 1st at 5:30 p.m. If you would like tickets, please call 928-412-0972, or you can message me on Facebook. Perfect.
Now, let's go back to you mentioned something that probably most of my audience know, but maybe sometimes, I get new listeners, and I like that. I like the show is not about preaching to the choir. I'm trying to reach out new people, okay? They want to know.
Yes.
What does it mean exactly, a constitutional sheriff? Why you think it's so important? After all, Sheriff Mack was a constitutional sheriff, but what did he do so important to make that point and to give you the endorsement? What is a constitutional sheriff? Who is?
A constitutional sheriff will not bend or let them be trampled on by anyone, foreign or domestic, and will stand up to the Constitution and protect the rights and safety and liberty of the residents of Mohave County. And I had expressed that to Sheriff Mack, which is why he offered his endorsement to me. The idea is to make sure, like I said, that we have constitutional sheriffs protecting you and really understanding that it is a position with the utmost responsibility and safety and security at with the federal level, which I already deal with the federal government at our manufacture plant. So I already have that federal law enforcement, federal experience working with them.
Mm-hmm.
So I need the residents to understand that you need a sheriff who's going to be in there representing you, and that they work for us.
Okay.
You work for them.
Let me give you a specific case. Okay, I like to do practical things so people can visualize. You know that around 2001, Congress with President Bush passed the Patriot Act. Okay, and then of course Obama with the other Congress, Democrats and Republicans, they passed the National Defense Authorization Act of 2012. That in similar way, with the clause of indefinite detention, pretty much spit on our Bill of Rights. The Patriot Act was a complete destruction of our Fourth Amendment, gives authority to local law enforcement, to federal law enforcement, to completely violate our Fourth Amendment. They can spy and search in your home without any due process. And in the same situation or similar situation with the National Defense Authorization Act of 2012, the federal government can declare any one of us, U.S. citizens included, with or without accent, doesn't matter, a domestic terrorist, or at least a suspect terrorist, and just because of with that suspect, they can pretty much throw your butt in the dungeon without due process. We do have an indefinite detention. That's a fact. Now, Mohave County, you are the sheriff. The feds say, we got to go come and get Zanna because we really suspect he's a terrorist, okay? And that's it. Not even the FBI, probably the Army, because right now, under the National Defense Authorization Act, the Army, in complete violation of posse comitatus, can be used on U.S. soil to arrest American citizens and throw him in the dungeon, not even the jail, without due process, no completely access to judge, jury, or lawyers. What would you do as a sheriff?
Absolutely not, Luca. Absolutely not. Your rights and liberties would be violated under the Constitution. So that being said, it is that much more important that you have somebody who understands that the sheriff has the authority to allow the federal government to work within their county. They have the authority to take over investigations, if they choose to do so, over the police departments as well. That's why the position of the sheriff is so important. If I cannot stress that so much to the public, that they understand that, because our rights are violated and trampled on. For example, I went down to Phoenix, met Sheriff Joe Arpaio. I had a knock on my door from the ATF wanting to do a home inspection the next day. Well, I feel that I should have been notified, and I've said this in debate.
Wow.
I feel that my sheriff should have notified me, regardless of my license.
Wait a second.
Regardless.
Do me a favor. Let me be sure. This is in Lake Havasu. I didn't know that. Did you have the ATF coming to your home?
Yeah, absolutely.
And when was that?
The day after I met Sheriff Joe Arpaio.
And when was that? How long ago? I'm just curious.
Oh, after I announced my campaign, let's see here. It was a few months ago.
Okay, and
but I found it very.
What did they come to your home? I know that you are a gun manufacturer, but that's at your office, at your factory. Okay, your home, it's your home,
Correct.
It's your private place. What was their excuse?
Correct.
Did they have a warrant? Did they have a court order? What did they have to come to knock at your door, and looking for what?
Well, our home is listed as a secondary office. Obviously, we wanted it set up that way because with being manufacturers, it just makes it easier, and we were advised to do so. So we did, but in the history of our license, they've never done a home inspection, and I just shook my head at that. I said, you know what? I'm a candidate for sheriff, and they said they knew, and I already knew that they knew that. Obviously, they're knocking on my door the day after I come back from Phoenix, and I just found it quite interesting that they were there to do an inspection, and they have never done one in the history of our license.
Wow.
And I do not have anything against other agencies, but I feel that they need to be better regulated by the sheriff's office. I feel the sheriff should have notified me through a sergeant, through a deputy. Somebody should have notified me. I feel that because that is the position of the sheriff.
Okay.
They are to supersede the federal agencies when they work on our soil, and I expressed that to Sheriff Mack, and he agreed.
And this is at your home, but technically, I want to be fair here. The moment that you sign a contract with these people, and I want to try to keep my language clean because I'm clean, I'm trying to keep it FCC friendly, you pretty much must comply by the rules. And one of the rules is when you are a FFL dealer, your home, your office, whatever your residence, it must be open to them. Now, you know that there was a piece of legislation in Phoenix that they were trying to make that every agency, federal agency that wants to operate within the sheriff, the county, the jurisdiction of the sheriff, they must first inform or at least get the authorization by the sheriff. Unfortunately, I think it was the governor didn't pass at the time, they veto it. But regardless, you still have that authority as a sheriff, if you get elected as sheriff, to set the rules. What is going to be what are you going to say to the federal agency that they're operating right now here in Mohave County, like FBI, DA, IRS, whatever we have on the book? What is going to be your set of rules?
Well, I don't think that there's very much with something like that happening. I don't believe that there is very much on the books, Luca. I believe that we need to be in constant communication with their actions, and if there's anything such as investigations, we have the findings of their investigations before things such as arrests, like if it's the FBI or things of that nature. Because that is violating the rights of the people by just taking actions, and it is the position of the sheriff to make sure that they protect and serve the people.
Okay.
And that is not being done.
Let me give you an example, okay? They're going to communicate. I'm the ATF guy, director here in the agency in this county. Hey, Sheriff Merryman, guess what? I give you the information that tomorrow we're going to start to do a gun bayback, let's say, / confiscation in Mohave County. We just inform you. Thank you very much. Bring us some coffee. What you going to do?
Not going to happen.
Okay, you got 86 deputies, okay? And I'm not going to try to put you on the spot. I don't want to say, but this is a real, unfortunately, for whoever's going to be our sheriff.
Well, Luca, I'll tell you. Okay. Well, what I understand what you're trying to get at. So, fortunately, like I said, they work off of work permits. They have the authority. The sheriff has the authority to cease their work in Mohave County. So that will not happen under my watch.
Okay.
There will be no gun confiscation.
What's about
retrieval? No,
okay.
no buyback program. None.
Okay, forget the confiscation. Leave it too extreme. Let's go with the good old registration. After all, we must be safe, as there is an executive order from Mr. Obama that now we're going to have a registration according to his magic pen and paper. Hey, it's coming from Washington. Probably they say that it's the law, even, of course, Congress didn't vote for it. What you going to do about that? A little gun registration.
Also not going to happen. You have to have your rights not be infringed upon. Gun registration is the start of the demolition of every single county. What is the point of registration? Tell me, Luca.
Normally to register, to keep a database to see who has the gun or not. And then, of course, history. This is history. Now, even me, luca-zanna talking. Look in Australia, look in England, look in Germany, and in Mussolini, in Italy, many other countries. Normally is always followed by confiscation. That's pretty much the story.
Absolutely.
Okay, listen. I say whoever's going to be the sheriff, this is going to be a very, let's say, committed position with a lot of excitement, if you want to put it in a positive way. And I tell you, I commit you for your commitment, because I tell you, this is not an easy job. You're not going to be working as collecting a check as, just, and don't get me wrong, county supervisor, I think it's a lot of commitment there too. But this is about, you're going to put your life on the line to fulfill your oath that you're going to take again, to uphold the Constitution. And I know when Sheriff Mack selected you, at least chose you as a person, I don't think Sheriff Mack, he has a great reputation out there, and he didn't do something lightly. He must have his own convictions to support you. That's all I can say. And I tell you, I keep my personal things personal, but I commend you for being in the race, and I commend you also to have achieved that support by Sheriff Mack. That, by the way, it is not a secret. He's been on my show one time, and I completely admire him as a sheriff. He's been probably one of the persons that educated the most about what this country is supposed to be and how we can take it back, one county at a time, starting from our county government, our county sheriff. Excellent. We are getting almost at the end. Time goes so fast. I today ask you probably much different question. I have a couple of minutes. You know that in the Arizona Constitution and also in our Arizona Revised Statute, we have a name that probably now in the mainstream media is pretty much a bad thing, but is part of our history. After all, we didn't have a standing army when we fought the Redcoats, and in our Arizona Constitution, it's called the militia. Every man between the age 18 and 45 is automatically in our state part of the militia. Then there is, of course, the organized militia, and then there is the National Guard, and also there is the unorganized militia. And in our county, the supreme commander of the militia, or at least the leader, is the sheriff. What do you think about this word militia? Is it a bad word to you, or is something that is important to defend the safety and the freedom of our community?
It's important to defend the safety of the community. It's a militia. What it actually stands for, Luca, and I'm sure you already know this, but it's a well-regulated group. It has structure to it. It is just a word, and unfortunately, it's been just given a really bad rap. And I do not take it as a bad word. I believe that any group, then the sheriff's office would be considered the same, because it's a regulated group. I mean, you can't just segregate one group as something and one is not. The word militia is not bad.
Okay. Listen, I want to give you, like I do with every candidate, the last 60 seconds. You can say whatever you want. You got a complete floor. And also remind, please, at the end, your website, or people can reach you out. Go ahead.
I would just like to thank everybody for the opportunity of listening to me, and I would hope that you would take my opinions and values into consideration to be elected your next Mohave County Sheriff, to represent you, to put the safety and security first in Mohave County, that I will work for you, not for myself, that I will stand for you, and for my family as well, that I will represent you and have a foundation to stand on. We need to get back to the principles of Mohave County and what we represent. And I would like to also thank you for allowing me this opportunity to offer my services to you once again.
Perfect.
And I just ask for your vote. Thank you.
Very good. And, I want to be fair. I forgot one question that I ask to everybody. I don't want people, you should ask that question. It's very simple. You don't need to spend too much time. We have short time. Any secret, and I'm not talking about your personal private life, okay? I'm talking about in your public life, something connected to the sheriff office. Let's say I said to the other people, I don't know, you got domestic violence, you beat up your husband, you got arrested, you get found drunk in the public street, something like that, okay? I'm not talking about your personal private life. Any secret we should know. And I'm not here to judge, okay? All I ask is to have the chance to people to be upfront, that we should know as constituents about you as a person that would compromise or could compromise your position as a county sheriff. Go ahead.
Absolutely not. I've never been arrested. Actually, even during my employment, I was never even suspended or put on any disciplinary time off. So no, I have no scary skeletons in the closet, no arrests, no.
Perfect. Listen, Mrs. Merryman, I really thank you for your time, and I want to say, listeners, my only job here is to give you the opportunity to know more about the candidates, because this is going to be probably the most important election we will ever have in the history of this county, because we are living in historical times. 2016 is already started, but we have no idea what's going to happen in the next few months. So we better spend our time. And as I say, I'm here, my humble job as a member of the media, to give the microphone to these candidates, and I appreciate them all, because everybody who's running at least is spending some time and effort. But I'll let you, the listener, the voter, the final word. Now, talking about you, the listener, this show is not free. This is not NPR. We do not steal your money. If you want to support this show, first of all, support KTOX, because, they need to pay their bills. If you want to support myself, my time is pretty precious, believe it or not. I just do this as a sort of a love, but you can support me too, because I tell you, it's taking a very lot of my business time. So go to one of my website, zanna.us, and you can download any of my songs for just 99 cents, and I appreciate your help. If you're too cheap, that's fine. You can listen for free. But I tell you, I really do not appreciate that. I appreciate your help and support. Now, don't go away. Hour number 2, we talk about guns, and we have a special guest, one of the Appleseed Rifleman coordinators, instructors, and we will talk about how to become a rifleman. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with luca-zanna. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with luca-zanna on United States.fm network. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with luca-zanna on United States.fm network. Here we go, guys. Second hour, you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with luca-zanna on KTOX 1340 AM and on United States.fm network. I don't want to say it, but I think sometimes this is my favorite hour, because when I envision the second hour about guns, the show is called Love, Guns, and Freedom. In the second hour, normally, I like to talk about very practical things. Normally, in the other radio shows that they talk about guns, and don't get me wrong, I like them. Some of them I'm a listener too. They talk about like fashion, or the latest gun from Shots or whatever, the latest rifle, the latest whatever. Okay, that's fine. I do not care. As I said, I don't care if you carry a Mosin Nagant or if you carry a slingshot. For me, the weapon, it is not a hobby. It is not a sporting matter. Of course, I enjoy it. It is a tool. It's a duty. Second Amendment, for me, it's commitment to duty. When I became a citizen, I took it very seriously. And understanding what it means, especially when you never had it in Europe, they don't have it. I didn't have it. You understand that this is not just something for showing off your latest rifle at the range. No. it's a very big responsibility. And as I said, with freedom comes responsibility. Now, today, my goal in this hour is to share practical information on how to become a rifleman. Some of you maybe had a chance to serve in the military. So to qualify, you have to go through a process and, of course, a learning experience and training. But many civilians don't have that opportunity. And I realized that very well, that you can have 100 rifles if you want in your safe. Like I can have, for example, 100 hammers in my garage. But doesn't mean that because I have a hammer and a couple nails, I am a carpenter. I'm terrible for jobs like that. So the idea that not because you have a rifle, you are automatically a rifleman. So we need to find a way, well, I would like to invite you to find a way to achieve that goal. And why? In my little experience, my journey when I was becoming in America, I found that was one of the most important things I could do. First of all, to preserve heritage, that I believe really that when we study our history, riflemen created this country. Their sacrifice, their marksmanship, their experience, their commitment, because it's a commitment. You don't become a rifleman overnight. Our founding fathers were riflemen. The people who fought for freedom, they didn't fight just with wars. That was, of course, the very important thing. Their brain, in my opinion, was the most important weapon. But then they had to defend their ideas. That's why I think every one of us, I don't care if you're a man, a woman, or between, I don't care where you're from, but the moment that you commit to become an American, you should really look into this, how to become a rifleman. Today, I always bring you guests because I'm just an humble student. That's what I do. I study, I find a place where I can learn. I had a chance and the opportunity and a gift, I like to say, God gave me that gift, to a few years ago, about 6 or 7 years ago, if not more, probably more, to find out about Appleseed. I talk about appleseed-project many times, but I always promise myself to bring an expert, at least one of the instructors. Finally, I was able to find a person that he has the time to dedicate to come. What is Appleseed? I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to have the guest sharing this information. His name is Dr. Rich, and he's from somewhere around in Illinois, and he's one of the Appleseed, probably is the Appleseed coordinator for the Southwest. But before I say mistakes, like normally I do, let me ask him, Dr. Rich, are you there?
I am.
Nice
Ciao,
to meet you.
mio amico.
Thank you, grazie. I know that your family was from Italy, so nice to meet you, and ciao. Ciao anche a te, nice to meet you. Dr. Rich,
Nice to meet you.
introduce yourself, please. Tell us a little bit about who you are, briefly as a person, before we go into Appleseed, and then who you are in the Appleseed family, please.
Okay. So my name is Dr. Rich P., Dr. Rich Pistolese. So Pistolese is not an easy name to say, so Dr. Rich P. is fine. I'm from Round Lake, Illinois currently, and I work in Big Pharma. I have worked in Big Pharma all my life. Never really wanted to get into patient care, so I've been in pharmaceutical industries. And we bring good drugs that help people save and sustain lives to the market and to the public. So that's part of the job and part of my the service that's within my soul that I answer to. On my weekends, I teach for Project Appleseed. I am a senior instructor, and I'm also the Southwest Regional Coordinator for Project Appleseed, which means all of the states in the Southwest fall under my jurisdiction. And my job is to educate and promote about the origins of our country, the events that transpired on April 19th, 1775, that began America, and also to teach about marksmanship.
Yes. And, I tell you, my experience with Appleseed was probably about 7 years ago or so, maybe 8, I don't know. Anyway, I was in Arizona, exactly, was in Phoenix. I heard about this program. I say, let me go check it out. And I found amazing. First of all, I like the spirit. All the people that they work for Appleseed, they are volunteers. And dedicate their time, like people do other charity work, people go to churches or help the homeless, you help to share the tradition, the heritage, and also the marksmanship that I really believe that we should be a national rifleman to preserve our heritage and our freedom. And that's exactly Appleseed what does. I mean, you don't go into politics. I would like to remind, you can remind, please, who is the organization behind Appleseed? And also, is it a 501c, I guess, right?
Yes. So Project Appleseed is a product of the RWVA, the Revolutionary War Veterans Association. Mm-hmm. And we call it the Revolutionary War Veterans Association because all of us that are in this country are products of Revolutionary War veterans. We are here. We have the freedoms we have because hundreds of years ago, people stood up and said no to tyranny and no to abuse, and we took a stand against what was at the time the largest, most well-equipped empire the world had seen, and we won. We won our freedom and our independence. So today, the revolution was never supposed to stop. You know, it was supposed to be an experiment that continued, and we believe it does till today. Exactly.
No, this is so important. That's honestly, one of the things really capture my heart, I was so, sometimes I tell you, I get very emotional when I think that because the class, the clinic, that normally an Appleseed clinic is 2 days, starts Saturday and finish on Sunday. It wasn't just about shooting. Of course, that's the focus, learn the basic marksmanship. And correct me if I'm wrong, I never really made it to instructor, but I was an instructor in training to become, to qualify for the Army qualification test to be a rifleman. And then we will define exactly who is a rifleman. But also was to understand the sacrifice of the men and women just not during the all days of the years of the Revolutionary War, but also just a few days when all that started in 1775 and focusing on that sacrifice that sometimes, we just take it for granted. We just think it's just another, okay, whatever. That man died, the other guy probably got his house burnt. But when we start to put ourselves, transport for a moment, ourselves, and put it in their feet, to see what drama they have to face, what fear they have to face, when they almost like they jump in that room, in the dark room, and all the doors close behind. And there is no an exit unless you win that battle, unless you take your country, you take your freedom. And these men and these women put everything they had, not just their money or their possession, their physical possessions, but also their lives and their families into this. So it made me really understand what it meant for me to become an American, and then, of course, motivate me to pursue and achieve the goal to become a rifleman. Now, go ahead, because I talk too much sometimes.
No, you're fine. You're very well informed. So I'll explain a little. 200 years ago, we were a country that was ruled by Great Britain. They were the largest empire in the world. They said the sun would never set on the British Empire, and that was true because as the sun set in one area of the British Empire, dawn arose in another area of the British Empire. They literally ruled the world as we knew it. They got into a little trouble in the French and Indian War, and decided that they were in debt and that the colonists had needed to pay for these debts. So they started taxing the colonists, which was understandable. Everybody's got to pay taxes, unfortunately. But what they didn't do is they didn't give them any representation in the British Parliament. So these were English citizens loyal to the Crown of English just in the New World. But they did not have a voice in the way they were being governed. And the colonists wouldn't put up with that. So first, they resisted. And then they rebelled. And then they revolted. So what happened was there were a lot of taxes that were set up, and the people each would resist paying the taxes or complain, and one by one the taxes were repealed. until the final tax for tea came along. It was an import tax. And at that point, the colonists had had enough. So a group of them banded together, dressed up like Indians, went into Boston Harbor, and threw all the tea off the boats into the harbor to let the Crown know, we're not going to drink this tea and we're not going to pay these taxes. In response to these rebellions, the British Parliament sent over troops to quash the rebellion. And part of the first thing they wanted to do is to disarm Americans. You can't be much of a rebel when you're not armed and the soldiers are. Mm-hmm. But it was a much bigger thing than that. It wasn't just a matter of rebellion and disarming people. This was about fighting a war of hunger. Back 200 years ago and more, we didn't have grocery stores to go to like we do today. Mm-hmm. We didn't have, you couldn't go in and just buy food. If you wanted to feed your family, you had to get out and hunt meat or buy meat from somebody who did hunt meat. Mm-hmm. You had to get vegetables from farmers and so forth. When they made the decision that they were going to disarm the populace, what they in essence did was began to use hunger as a weapon. Mm-hmm. Any parent who's watching this show right now, you think of what it would be like to have your son or daughter starve. Yeah. Or go hungry, or feel hunger.
Or beg, because at the end of the day, who controls the food as a weapon controls the population, like they try to do now with other ways. But, yeah, you have to beg to your masters, please feed me. That's what I wanted to do.
Right. It was a way to gain compliance. We will starve you out and starve your children mm-hmm. if you don't comply. And the colonists were smart enough to say, no, we are not going for this. So on April 19th, 1775, General Gage was the commander-in-chief of all British forces in Boston, and he ordered his troops to go out and seize a store of arms that were being stored in Concord. And to get to Concord, you had to go through Lexington. They had already had one, what they called powder raid, mm-hmm. and where they seized people's ammo, because very early on they realized that it would be very hard to confiscate people's guns. Although they were doing it, it would be easier to confiscate their ammo, or to limit their supply. So they stopped importing gunpowder and shot, and dried up the ammo. So anybody try to buy .22 ammo over the last couple of years?
Like here.
Yeah, it's a very similar thing. We can't take away the guns, but we can dry up all the ammo. So that was their what they wanted to do. They wanted to seize all the ammo, all the shot, and all the ball, and in essence disarm the colonists.
Yes. And
so,
go
ahead.
Go ahead. No, this is so important because probably say, okay, but we already know this stuff. Many people say, already, not really. Because if you get now the average, teenager or little man or woman, young man and woman who goes to school, I don't even think they tell him the whole story. And I tell you the information that I got through the 2 days clinics at Appleseed about the history, the details. I mean, it's something in experience just because of that. I mean, there are so many beautiful things, dramatic, but real, that makes you really appreciate what we need to defend, because what we are losing today, I mean, seriously, people before us gave blood, gave their limbs. And now all we have to do is vote, or at least start to open our mouth, and not just go there and fight like they did to get something that didn't have. We have to defend what it is our birthrights as Americans. That's the point. So they did a hard job for us. we became so lazy, and I felt so bad. After I did my class with Appleseed, I said, you know what, whatever I'm doing, I'm not doing enough. I need to at least speak up more. I need to be more involved because, we don't have to do all the bloody things they had to go through. All we have to do is stand up as Americans, don't be afraid, and start to exercise our basic rights. That's it. And we would take our country back overnight if just 20% of us we would do that seriously. And we're going to get there. Now, back to the Appleseed as the idea of rifleman. After all, this is the hour about rifle and guns. Mm-hmm. Who is a rifleman? How would you define a rifleman or riflewoman?
I would define a rifleman or a riflewoman as somebody who could shoot with a rack-grade rifle and rack-grade ammunition to a 4-minute of angle standard. You always see on TV these war movies where guys just put their guns over the wall and shoot blindly. Mm-hmm. And I would say if you're not putting ammo on targets, if you're not actually aiming and hitting a target, you're just turning money into noise. You're just turning ammo that you paid for into noise. It's not enough to shoot a gun, but you have to be proficient with it. It is the skill that birthed this country. The reason that the American colonists, a bunch of farmers and merchants and woodsmen, were able to defeat the best trained, most well-equipped army in the world with superior numbers is because we were better marksmen. We relied on our rifles to go out and hunt and feed our families. And that was the difference in the Revolutionary War that made us victorious over the British. It was our marksmanship. And we didn't forget that lesson. In the Battle of 1812, 90% of British officers, the Battle of New Orleans, 90% of British officers were killed or wounded within the first 24 minutes of the battle. That's who we were as American marksmen. In World War II, after they bombed Pearl Harbor, the Emperor asked the Admiral to see the invasion plans for the United States. And he said, there are no plans to invade the United States. And when the Emperor asked why, the Admiral said, because we would find a rifle behind every blade of grass. Mm-hmm. Those are the things that kept our country safe, that beat back tyranny in the Pacific and in Europe, to free a Europe. So I want to ask your listeners, Luca.
Yes.
How many people today think that the jihadists are afraid of us, are afraid of the American rifleman? I'm going to bet they're not, because it's something we've lost. We used to be a nation of marksmen, and somewhere along the line we've lost that piece of our heritage. And Project Appleseed is dedicated to reminding us of that heritage.
Yes, and you said something, when you watch the war movies, I would like to specify, let's specify exactly which movies, because when I watch, for example, I like a lot World War II movies, you see that they still aim. They have their M1 Garand, normally the basic rifle, or the bolt action, the 1903, whatever it is. They aim, and every round counts. Instead, when you switch to the new generation of, let's say, Vietnam, and you start to see the type of pray and spray situation, you realize that the concept of rifleman, we start to lose it. So I tell you, I think it's so important because regardless, people that, say, I'm not going to join the army, I'm not going to do anything, I'm not going to go to war. Doesn't matter. If you have a rifle, I think it's so beautiful to achieve. It's like, let's say, for me, it was like almost a moment of Zen. I'm not into yoga. I don't do that type of stuff. But I try always to find the limits of my body, because my mind is pretty fast, I know that, but my body sometimes needs to catch up, and I try to keep it together. And for me, when I say, wow, the first time I went to Appleseed, they say, now, okay, you got to put 1 square inch group, you put 1 square inch, you mark a little square inch at 25 yards, and you got to put your group, your 5 rounds, in that square inch with the iron sight. I said, you must be kidding me, right? I mean, and that was, wow, the moment, wow. I said, wow, I really realized that I don't know anything. And when you achieve that goal, because, persistence, we know very well, is one of the most important elements of how to become a rifleman. So with persistence and with good education, you can achieve that. Any one of us can achieve that. If a guy from Italy like me with an accent, I was able to achieve that, I think some guys that probably had some traditions from the Revolutionary War, you can do even better. So when I achieved that goal, I said, wow, that amazing. Now finally I'm worth to be a rifle owner. I don't want to have any more rifle. I didn't want to buy any new rifle until I achieved that goal. So let's talk a little bit now in the practical things. The 4 minutes of angle, in plain English, please specify exactly what means. I gave the basic idea of 25 yards, 1 square inch, and also we translate that at 500 yards. I give you the floor. Please, let's specify a little bit what means exactly 4 minutes of angles and why it's so important for the quarter-mile rifleman standard.
Right. So 4 minutes of angle, that's sort of an abstract idea. We certainly know 90-degree angles and 45-degree angles, but, a minute of angle, which is a degree divided by 60 minutes in an hour, 60 minutes of angle in a degree. So what does that actually mean to us? How do we quantify that? That's a hard thing. So the easiest way to do it is if we were to set a 1 minute angle and we were to project that out 100 yards, 1 minute of angle would measure about 1 inch. And if that line, that imaginary angle line, kept going at 200, it would measure about 2 inches, 300, 3 inches, and so forth. So the easy way to quantify it is to say 1 minute of angle equals about 1 inch for every 100 yards. So we want to teach you to shoot within 4 minutes of angle. So if you were at 100 yards, you should be able to hit a 4-inch target.
Exactly.
But at Appleseed and a lot of ranges, they don't have 100-yard ranges. What they do have is 25-yard ranges. So what we did is, since 25 yards is 1/4 of 100, 1/4 of the distance, instead of hitting a 4-inch target at 100 yards, we're going to divide that target by 4 because we're only at 1/4 of the distance, and that would be 1. We want to see you hit a 1-inch target at 25 meters.
Yes, also, sorry, what I like the idea, even of course there are many ranges they may have, that 200 or the 100 yards range, the revolutionary concept that I think is amazing, that anybody can train anywhere where they have access to 25 yards. And more important, the verification time. If I had to shoot 100 yards or 200 yards, it would take me much more time and, go there, check it out, come back, walk, whatever, takes time. Instead, 25 yards, you can verify immediately what you're doing, your progress or your problems. Go ahead.
Yeah, 25 yards is a reasonable distance. And also when we talk about ammo, shooting centerfire rifles is a lot more expensive than shooting a .22 rifle, if you can find it. 22 rifle you could probably get for 10 cents a round. My AR-15 probably costs about 40 cents a round. My .308 probably $1 a round. So we want to make it economical. We know everybody's learning and practicing and working to be better marksmanship. So we want to make it economical. We shoot at 25 yards. A lot of our folks shoot 22. We do get a lot of AK-47s, a lot of AR-15s, M1 Garands, and .308s. We get them on the line as well. But we can make this economical. So if you're a mom or a dad and you want to come out with your kids, we can make it a very economical weekend for you guys to come out, learn gun safety, learn marksmanship, and learn to shoot, and take that skill on to the next level. Because I tell you, I took every skill that I learned at 25 yards, I did it at 100, 200, 300, 400, and 500. And I can tell you, it is exactly the same. It is the same skill set. You do all the same things, just at a longer distance.
Yes, exactly. Of course, we have to deal a little bit with the ballistic of the round. That means especially, how the round going to drop over to 100 yards. But beside that and the windage, we're doing exactly the same. We have the same sight picture, the same type of scaled down target that we would have at 25 yards. Now, let's go a little bit basic, straight to the point. First of all, there are no benches in the real tradition of a rifleman. So when I really cringe, when I see, for example, people shooting at the bench, I like to say, listen, it's not on my business. I don't like to judge people, but I tell you, can I bring you a coffee and a cigar? I mean, that's not the way you're going to train to become a rifleman. So I like the idea, very important, that Appleseed shares the three basic positions that the stance, as we want to call it, the standing, the sitting, and the prone. Then there's also a little bit about the kneeling, but that's relative. And this is just the basic, the foundation, and the importance role of the sling. Please articulate a little bit about why the sling is so important and what is exactly the difference in the three different positions.
Right. So we don't teach bench rest shootings. We feel that traditional American marksmanship, as practiced by the people who laid down their lives for our country, is not done at a shooting bench. It's done standing, seated, and prone. And, that's what we want to teach, because it's got to be real life. If you're not going to practice the way you actually shoot, then you're not doing yourself any favors. If you think about it, you don't have to be a defensive person or in the military service. What if you're just a hunter? Were you ever out on a hunt and you have this chair and a bench to set up on and make your shot? No. You're either standing, sitting, or you could be laying prone. So we teach those positions. And we also teach the use of a USGI sling. It's not one of those fancy leather things with the big padding. It's just a simple nylon or cotton web sling that you can use to add a great deal of stability to your shooting, to really learn to put your bullets on target, to be relaxed in your shooting, not using muscle. That sling will make all the difference for you in your shooting. And it's a lost art. It's not something that people really teach today, but we do here at Project Appleseed.
Yes, and for me it was one of the most important, one of the first important things really that I said, wow, this is great, because the idea that with a sling we can achieve that 4 minutes of angle with the iron sight, that, when you start to see that 1 square inch at 25 yards, you need to put all your shots inside that, you realize that if you don't use every tool that you need, and among those, of course, the sling, it's a must, because it gives you about at least an extra 15% of extra accuracy. Is that correct?
Oh, I would say, 15 to 25% more accurate and more repeatable.
Exactly. So that was, wow, I just say, that's great. I love that. And now there are, every time I shoot a rifle, I went beyond Appleseed. I start to find other schools and also other information. But that for me was the foundation. What make me really understand, I don't care if I shoot an AK-47, M14, or let's say any 22, I want to always use the sling in every way I can. There are three basic positions for the sling. Can you please elaborate on that?
Yeah. So in a standing position, we use what's called a hasty sling. The sling is attached to the rifle at the front by the barrel end and also at the bottom at the buttstock end. And we're going to teach you how to size that sling for you and use it to really stabilize your shooting position in a standing position, because standing is the least stable of all shooting positions. what makes a position stable is more contact with the ground.
Mm-hmm.
When you're standing, you have the least contact with the ground. You have the small area that are your two footprints. Those are your contact. And then you're subject to wind and muscle fatigue and a million other things. And we're going to show you how to do the things, how to use steady hold factors to steady your position, how to relax when you shoot so you're not using muscle, and how that sling really helps you.
Exactly. And muscle, you said something very important because, we will go there when we talk about the natural point of aim. Muscles are not our friends. Don't get me wrong. You want to be strong. You want to be able to walk and run and do whatever you have to do. But in the shooting, marksmanship discipline, we want to use bones as much as possible because muscle, they tremble and, they're not going to be repeatable every time. So please continue on that. We go now from the hasty. There is also the hasty and the other one. Go ahead.
Yeah, the second type of sling that we use is called a loop sling, and we use this in both the kneeling or sitting position and also in the prone position. And we disconnect the sling from the butt of the rifle, and we make a loop in it and put it around our bicep so it's nice and high and tight. And we use that to adjust our sling and to steady the rifle in both of those positions. And we're going to teach you in a sitting position all the steady hold factors of sitting position, where to put your elbows, where to put your legs, how to hold your arm. Should it be up in a what we call a chicken wing, or should it be down by your side? We're going to teach you all that, the proper shooting position to help you have the most stable shot. And then we do the same thing in the prone position. The prone is the most stable because you have the most contact with the ground. We're going to teach you how to use that sling, how to position your body so that you have an accurate, repeatable shot. That not only could you put one shot in the 1 inch, but you could put all 5 in the 1 inch.
Exactly. Now, from the sling that, of course, this is not a lesson. By the way, if you're driving, don't start to experiment this stuff. Get your rifle out of your bag or whatever. Just focus. This is just to give you an idea. Things that maybe they are taken for granted, but maybe not everybody knows. That's the idea. Now, from the sling, let's go to another very important foundation that for me was the moment that when I discovered that and I was able to master it, I really saw my progress in achieving my qualification for the Army qualification test. And I'm talking about the natural point of aim. Please elaborate on that.
Your body, when you address a target, your body has a natural point of aim. If you were to think about it as a golfer, when you address the ball, you have to line up your body in such a way that the ball, when you hit it, is going to go where you want it. If you drive a motorcycle, you know the way you move your head is the way the motorcycle goes. It's just a fundamental rule. Well, the same is in place for shooting. The way you line up your body will have an effect on the way where your bullet goes. We call that the natural point of aim. So if your natural point of aim leads the rifle to somewhere that's different from the target, you have two ways to get the rifle on target. You can use your muscles and move the rifle over the target, but I promise you that will not be a repeatable thing.
Exactly.
Or you can adjust your body to make sure that your natural point of aim is on the target, that you can close your eyes, take a deep breath, open them, and be right on target. And you relax. You don't have to use muscles, and you shouldn't. That natural point of aim, we're going to teach you how to do it in not only a standing position, but a seated or kneeling position and a prone position.
Yes. Now, this is, for me, was fun, like almost when you found, wow, now I got a magic trick. And I tell you, when you start to go above 190, talking about the scores, and then we will go a little bit about the test. You realize that if you don't have the natural point of aims, you're not going to cross that magic number of 210 or whatever it is, okay? So that was beautiful, just beautiful. For me, well, I don't know. I felt blessed, to not only to come to America, but also to learn these skills that, when I was in Italy, I tell you, rifles, yeah, right. I mean, if you got a shotgun for hunting, after a lot of permits and regulations, you're lucky, because after all, slaves, they are allowed to hunt once in a while. But military rifle, no way, very hard to get. And of course, I was blessed in some ways because my family was in the military. At least my uncle was a general, and I have another family member who was a former cop. So I was able to somehow live almost in surreal world that was not exactly the Italian world. So I had the opportunity to have weapons around me, and I also attended the military school. But still, to do this as a civilian was amazing, and I love it. Now let's go back to the idea of the 6 steps, because I would like to say I don't care if you have an AR-15, an AK, whatever rifle you have, that means he has a stock that's you're going to lean your head on it and push on your shoulder. It's still the same principles. And if you want to be accurate, I'm not talking about spraying and paying, yeah, also you pay the ammo and pray. You must achieve that goal. You must hit every time you squeeze the trigger. And how do we achieve that goal as a rifleman? And what are the 6 steps on how to become a rifleman? Go ahead.
Yep. So we have 6 steps of firing a shot. We've broken it down into 6 steps. And these steps to firing a shot will not only apply to your rifle, but they will apply to your handgun if you shoot a handgun. So the first is what we call sight alignment. You want to make sure that your firearm is pointed at the target. You don't want to point the gun at something that you don't want to shoot. So we want to get that to where you're aiming at the target. And we do that by sight alignment. It's by focusing on the front sight and lining the front sight up with the back sight. We call that sight alignment. And then the next thing you want is sight picture. So everybody, and this is a common mistake when they start shooting, everybody wants to focus at the target downrange. But when you're shooting, what you should actually be focusing on is the front sight. And I've heard people say, oh, Doc, my eyes aren't what they used to be. I can't do that. If you can hold your hand out in front of you and put your thumb up and look at your thumbnail in clear focus, then you can be a great shooter. That's what you need. You need that focus on your front sight. You can't focus on 2 planes at once. When you focus on your front sight, the target is going to be blurry, and that's the way it's supposed to be. We call that getting the right sight picture.
Yes. And, and that's, just the beginning. The 6 steps, I would like to go through a little bit more now. But I would like before, people may say, I know this stuff. I know already all this. And I hate when people say, I know. Because, you never know enough, I tell you. Even when you think you know, there is always something new to know. Let me give you a little challenge to all my listeners. I would like to invite you, please, to get 1 square inch that you can, get a little bit of a marker, whatever, do it with your computer. 1 square inch, okay? And at that point, you put this square inch on paper at 25 yards, okay? And then I will let you put at least 3 rounds out of 5. If you can, all 5 would be great, with any rifle you want. I don't care if you got 22, 308, whatever, okay? And then I will let you send me a snapshot of this target. If you cannot do that, I would like to know still how close you get. And that for me was the moment of the truth, I mean, if you cannot accomplish that goal, you're shooting at hot air. So, and then you need to go back to the basics, to the foundations, to fundamentals. That's what we're talking about. So please, if you have that, anybody who send me a photo, I will send you a free gift, one of my songs, okay? And I really appreciate that because I'm not going to do that because I want to put you down or put you up, because I want to create a moment of truth with all of us to start to say, wow, I probably need to go back to foundations. So send me an email, zanna@zanna.us, or find me on Facebook, or go to lovegunsfreedom.com. And I appreciate, be honest, don't cheat, send me a photo with your 1 square inch, whatever happens. If it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. I don't care. I appreciate it. And I'll put my out too. Go ahead.
Yep. So everybody says, like you pointed out, Luca, everybody says, I know this stuff. There is a big difference between knowing and doing. And I can tell you, as a professional instructor, you will be amazed at it's like talking to your teenage son. You tell them, don't do this. I know. And they do it anyway. Even though they know they shouldn't, they do it anyway. This is the same thing with shooting. People know this stuff, but then they do it anyway. So the third step in firing the shot is what we call respiratory pause. Everybody has a normal breath cycle. Breathe in, breathe out. We don't even think about it. But when you're behind a rifle and you're looking down your sights and you have all your steady hold factors, you're going to see that when you breathe in, your rifle barrel goes up, and when you breathe out, your rifle barrel comes down. It's part of the normal respiration, and it affects our point of aim. So what we teach is a respiratory pause. You take your deep breath in, take your deep breath out, and hold it out, and that's when you make your shot. When the rifle is steady and at the bottom of your respiratory cycle. We call that respiratory pause. And then we go to number 4. Step number 4 is what I call the Zen step, because this is all about focusing. The first thing you have to do is you have to focus your eye on the front sight, not on the target, the front sight. And the second part of that step is to focus your mind on keeping the front sight on target. Remember, you're only looking at the front sight, not focusing on the target. And you've got to focus your mind and tell your mind, stay focused on the front sight and get it on target. So it's all about focus, and that's why I call it the Zen step, because it's really a mental step.
Yes, it is true. It starts all there. You know, it is, for me, as I said before, I don't do yoga, I don't do anything, but when I go shooting, people think it's a violent thing. For me, it is the most relaxing and most, almost, it's like almost going to another world. It's really get me my state of mind completely focused and stay away from all the other problems, all the other things of life. It's like really a mental experience for me more than physical. I agree with this Zen moment. Please continue.
Yep. So step number 5 is squeezing the trigger. I see a lot of people on the line, they don't even know how to use their trigger. They're pulling it back and forth like John Wayne. They're letting their finger fly. It doesn't require that much effort. We call it trigger squeeze. We want you to squeeze slowly and straight back, not off to an angle. Squeeze that trigger straight back so that when the gun goes off, it's almost a surprise to you. And then we do the 6th step, which is called follow-through. You'll see a lot of people pull the trigger and then flip their finger forward and get off the trigger. We teach what's called follow-through. Hold that trigger back, because even though it happens in a split second, there are a lot of things that have to happen between the time that you squeeze the trigger and the bullet exits the barrel. The hammer falls, ignites the primer explodes and lights the full charge. The full charge builds up pressure until it expels the bullet from the cartridge, and then it has to travel down the length of your barrel. In that little bit of time, you can move, and your bullets will come off target. So we teach follow-through. You want a deep breath in, deep breath out, squeeze, and hold back, and call your shot. If you pull the trigger and you knew you were aiming at this spot, then that's where the bullet should go. Because you can lie to yourself, but targets don't lie.
Yes.
If you're not on target, you're going to know it.
Exactly. And there is nothing wrong. Let's say sometimes it's normal to make mistakes, but when you call the mistake, it means at least you know what you're doing. Okay? That's very important. And also an important thing in the sixth step that I really found vital is the trigger reset. Like, for example, if people have a Glock, if you have a Glock, that's very important. With the rifle, is even more important, in my opinion. Let's talk a little bit about the trigger reset for a second, please.
Okay. So when you make contact with the trigger and you do your squeeze should come straight back. Now, if you're shooting while you're breathing, you breathe in, you breathe out, you squeeze, you hold back, you breathe in, and then you let your finger off the trigger just enough to reset the trigger. You don't have to flick your finger off or be fast, not jerking the trigger. Just let it up enough to feel the trigger reset, and then you're ready for a second shot. Now, in Appleseed, we don't advocate rapid-fire type shooting, but if you had to do rapid-fire, that is the way to do it, because you only use the amount of energy required to reset the trigger and be ready to shoot again.
Very good, very good. I was thinking, my mind was, every time you say a word, I like to almost do it in my own mind. And now, another important thing, we were talking about several practical things of the 6 steps. Another important thing I really thought it was vital, beside, of course, the prone position that is the most stable position, is also the idea that we must know our own gear. Because sometimes we go there, we go with our rifle, and then we start to work with time limits. We don't have all day. We don't have all day to squeeze the trigger, but also we don't have all day to think if there is a problem. Let's say your magazine may not work. You want to have all your, let's say, rifleman nest. What is the rifleman nest? Let's go straight to the point.
Yeah. So we want you to be comfortable with your firearm, to know it, to know how to operate it safely, but know how to operate it proficiently. So we have 4 stages to an AQT. In the first stage, you're going to shoot that standing up, and you're going to do it with 1 magazine. In stage number 2, we're going to ask you to do a magazine change. And it's really where you get to be good at changing your magazine and dealing with any little problems that come up. If you have a failure to eject or a failure to feed or need to make your rifle safe, you're really going to become proficient. And we want you to make what we call a rifleman's nest. When you're in a seated position, you should know how you're aligned to the target, have your natural point of aim, do your steady hole factors, but also when you need those magazines, you need them where you can reach them. You want to build a nest where everything is within sight and within reach so that you can do it efficiently within a limited amount of time.
Exactly.
And then, go ahead.
No, go ahead. This is so important because, this is what differences from start shooting at the range for target shooting and we start to learn how to become a rifleman. Because, God forbid, we really have to take the weapon to defend your family, or to defend your life, or to defend this country. We need to understand that it's much more than just shooting at something. Normally, it doesn't move when you shoot a paper. This is just the first stage, of course. Now, talking about the cadence, because we know that now people like to shoot fast, at least the type of weapons out there. They're normally in the movies especially depicted, the 3 rounds burst, stuff like that. But the rifleman means that the man or woman who can achieve the 4 minutes of angles that can hit targets of 20 square inches at 500 yards with iron sight. Exactly. What is the cadence that the rifleman should aim to?
So a rifleman's cadence is if you follow your normal breathing cycle. You take a deep breath in, you breathe out, you should squeeze the trigger. You breathe in, breathe out, squeeze the trigger. With each breath, and the average human breathes between 12 and 20 times per minute. So if you shoot in a rifleman's cadence, you can get off 12 to 20 shots in a minute just shooting in rifleman's cadence, shooting with your natural breathing cycle.
Perfect, perfect. Listen, I want to thank you, first of all, for your time. I know you're a busy man, you work, and this is your time that normally you would dedicate with your family and resting. Before we finish, I want you please give the website for Appleseed, how people can reach you out or can reach Appleseed and join one of the clinics around the States.
So, Luca, I appreciate being here, and as I'd like to invite all of your listeners to come out to an Appleseed. I'll give your listeners a challenge. If they want to come out to an Appleseed, if they come and they shoot well and they score 210 on the AQT on their first Appleseed, I'll give them their money back.
Wow. Speaking about money, it's not even much. You know, I was amazed that the fee, they were so reasonable. How much is, for example, for a regular person to come there for the 2-day clinics?
So normally, for a 2-day clinic, for an adult would be $60.
Mm-hmm.
For a child would be $20. But right now, we have a special promotion with Groupon.com.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to Groupon and type in Project Appleseed, we'll give you a third off. That means an adult can come for $40 for the whole weekend, and a child could come for $14 for the whole weekend.
Wow.
That's less than minimum wage.
Yeah, that's amazing. No, I want to, every time you come in town, I try to support and come there. Even, I already did my qualification. I just enjoy shooting. And I used to be an instructor in training. Unfortunately, time in life is really limited, but I try to do everything I can at least to promote you guys. I appreciate what you're doing.
Yep, and anybody who wants to reach us could do that at appleseedinfo.org. www.appleseedinfo.org.
Very good. Dr. Rich, I appreciate you, and maybe one day I hope to meet you. Maybe we can have a coffee together, okay? Listen, thank you.
Luca, when I come to Arizona, we're going to get together, and I'm going to get you back to teaching.
Very good. I would love that. Thank you very much. Okay, guys, don't go away. I got more information coming, and a little song briefly, and we will talk in a little bit. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with luca-zanna.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Our fathers gave us freedom and the right to defend it. Politicians, United Nations, you won't change the Constitution of our nation. We are free people, and for freedom we'll fight. We'll never give up our right. The Second Amendment, the Second Amendment, the right to be free, the right to defend yourself. The Second Amendment, the Second Amendment, the right to be free, the right to defend yourself. Doesn't help the sheep. Why should it help a human from thugs and creeps? And people disarm, only free to cry yourself. The Second Amendment. The Second Amendment. The right to be free. The right to defend yourself.
He's a songwriter, a poet, a rifleman,
I'm not afraid.
and a constitutional activist.
I'm not afraid.
Italian by birth,
I'm not afraid.
American by choice. Luca-Zanna
I'm not afraid.
and his new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom. 16 powerful songs on one CD from the heart of a patriot. For download or to order the CD, go to www.lovegunsfreedom.com. That's www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Lyrics for your mind, music for your heart. Luca-Zanna's new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom.
Have you ever met someone on an online dating site and thought, wow, this guy is perfect for me, or she is simply amazing, only to find out they were hiding a deep, dark secret? They plan to vote for Hillary. FreedomLovers.us was created for singles who want to exchange ideas and a love for freedom. People who are looking for solutions to create and defend freedom in the real world, and at the same time, getting that once-in-a-lifetime chance to find their true soulmate. Whether you are interested in meeting your soulmate, making new friends, networking, or hanging out with that like-minded liberty lover, visit FreedomLovers.us. It's the first free dating site and community. So patriots, don't waste your time with other dating sites. FreedomLovers.us is the place where like-minded singles really click.
Here we go, guys. This is luca-zanna. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom, hour number 3, final hour. This is our about love. So I just started with my nice cup of espresso. It's called the Zanna coffee. Say, wow. Now, there is also Zanna coffee. Yes, there is. Because, differently from the government, when you work for yourself, you don't really, you don't extort money from people. You always try to ask and politely offering a service or a product. That's the way I've been living since I came to this country. When I came 18 years ago, I started to work for myself. So I created this line. It's an organic line of incredible coffee and selected by myself. This is the coffee I like. The first line is the straight shot espresso. I like espresso. And it's wonderful, for many reasons. First of all, because it tastes great. Number 2, because it's organic and, there is no all these chemicals that they put now to pesticides. And also because it's a fair trade. That means we don't use slaves here, okay? People get paid the right way and the free market will decide if the product works or not. Meanwhile, I'm offering to you the straight shot espresso. It is not just an espresso. It is also a coffee that you can grind, because I sell the all beans, coffee beans, for also American coffee or for cappuccino, matcha, whatever you like it. That's the bottom line. Prices are great. You can also get free songs with each bag that, I write songs. That's my main job I do. And my main career, anyway, at least one of them. And you can go to zannacoffee.com or organiccoffee.tv and check it out. And remember, when you purchase a bag of this organic coffee, you also support the show. This is no NPR. We do not steal your tax dollar. We work for a living, and we try always to offer you the best. That says enough for the begging money part. Now, let's go back to the show. This is the hour about love, as I said, and normally I talk different things. And one thing I want to say, I had on the show a couple of weeks ago an activist from Tucson, Arizona, that was organized a rally in commemoration to create some sort of awareness to bring justice for the death of Lavoy Finico. His name is Roy Warden. we talked before the event, and then, of course, I was hoping everything was going to be smooth. Somehow, everything went smooth, or at least from, there was no dead people, not arrested. That was great. And at the same time, was some sort of an accident. But, I'm here not as a judge. I'm nobody. I was even there. But I want to use this opportunity to see what happened according to the facts that I was able to see to make a point. And I'll tell you my point. This is about, first of all, we should realize that the enemy, it is not among us, not behind us, but it's in front of us. We may have people that we disagree in general, and that's fine. We don't need to agree with everybody. We don't even need to agree with everything. But we should at least create an idea that we need to respect each other, and more important, we need to create a situation that we have enough problems already in our life. But let's go straight to the point. And also, the focus I want to bring in this little segment, it's about when freedom of speech stops and when starts some sort of, let's say, invasion of my space. And also in this way, they could become also, in my opinion, endangering my safety. Now, we have Roy Warder, sorry, the coffee just finished right now, on the air from Tucson. Roy, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Good job, man. First of all, congratulations that you made it back in one piece from the rally. I see that was a great accomplishment right there, considering what's going on.
Well, the thing is, you never know what to expect, and frankly, things turned out entirely different than I might even have imagined, and in many ways in a very, very positive way from my standpoint. But I'd like to say something else, too. Eventually, there will – I myself didn't make any video of the event. I don't have any way to do that, but various people do perform that service. And so we had one man with a camera in front of the event, and he got everything, Jason Tillman, but unfortunately he hasn't processed it yet from the standpoint of changing from video to high definition. He hasn't done that yet. He's going to get around to that next week. And when I get a copy of that, which will be the entire event, I will certainly provide that to Luca and anybody else that wants it. The video that we put up so far simply came from another random cameraman who came and took whatever shots he thought was important, began when he thought, stopped when he thought he should, and frankly is not very good at it. But nonetheless, he captured various segments, 2 or 3 of which I've shared with Luca. They were the only real main segments. The others are just basically little fragments and pieces of things that he filmed, but they didn't have any basic issue in terms of the event itself. There's another video that the Arizona Star put up, and that's on the Internet. It was a section they did with a news story, and that can be seen. That's already on the Internet, can be seen under the Arizona Star. There will be a 4th one, which will be a long, unedited tape, which will come from the U.S. Marshal's office because there is litigation. Eventually, they will provide it to me by court order, because once you start a court process, the court gives you the power to issue a subpoena and to obtain evidence. So when that happens, it'll be maybe 4 or 5 months from now. They will present me an edited copy of just various segments which relate to the legal issues. They won't give me the entire event because that's not its purpose. They will simply give me the sections which relate to the specific litigation that's under consideration by the court.
Let me stop you 1 second. Let's go straight to the point, and I want to sum it up. We don't have all hour. You did the event. People came. I know that there were also people from the opposition. You gave the microphone. I mean, it was pretty. My opinion, from what I saw from the Arizona Star, everything was doing pretty smooth. Okay, I like the feeling. It was about exercising your First Amendment, of course, also our Second Amendment in a legal way, not trespassing on federal property. That part was fine. Correct me if I'm wrong. Now
everything was correct.
Yeah. So now the situation that I see, that the new focus, unfortunately, as I said, we need to focus on the enemy in front of us, not between us. It was that you were approached by a person that, by the way, we can say the name because I want to have him on the show, and I want to give him the chance to say what really happened also from his side. His name is Cody. Are you say last name? Whitaker. Whitaker, okay. Tell me exactly your version of the story. What happened with Cody? That, by the way, is also my Facebook friend. I've been with him for a long time. I don't know the person. I never met him, but we exchange posts and things like that. So please go ahead. Tell me what happened with him.
Well, here's what happened. Basically, he was unhappy because of previous communications we had on Facebook. So he showed up to the rally, and this is why things went wrong and why there's this taint of illegality here. When you go to a rally, let's say you have an opposing viewpoint to the speaker, you can actually say things and discuss your point, even to the point that you're interrupting. But you cannot approach the person and get within physical proximity of them to make them think that they're going to hit you or something of that sort. You can't do that. In this case, Cody showed up, and what he had to say was not a contrary opinion to the rally. It was a personal attack on me, calling me names and going on in that direction. That kind of speech is not protected by the First Amendment because it's not dealing with the political issues that people are talking about. It's simply a personal attack on somebody. And that's not protected by the First Amendment. That's not free speech. That's just an argument, just as if somebody was standing on a corner minding their own business and you came up and started yelling at them personally. That would be considered an attack. It wouldn't be First Amendment.
What did he say without, infringing the FCC rules? If there is some casting, please give it the polite version. What did he say, please? And do we have this on video?
Actually, none of it. I don't think any of it was X-rated. But he called me a series of names, calling me a false prophet, and he claimed in some way I was taking advantage of the Lavoie Finnegan situation somehow to my own benefit. In what way, he didn't explain it, but he kept calling me names, calling me a false prophet, things of that sort, got very angry, and frankly, he's a powerfully built man. He's a bodybuilder, and I was afraid that an assault was, that he was going to hit me. In fact, I started retreating back, and eventually I had to step into the street because I wanted to create some distance between me and him.
Do you have this on video, all this part?
Oh, yeah, it's all on video, yeah. It's on the video I believe I've already shown you or sent to you. It should be in there.
No, I'm just asking. I know I saw that, but I want to just be sure that it's there for the public.
Just before the police came up, just before the police arrived, I said some alarming words. It's actually, this is the kind of thing has happened at many, many rallies I've had where I've been attacked personally by people. And the police department has chosen, and they're wrong in this, and there'll be litigation regarding this. They've decided to hopefully let the attack take place. They let the people approach me. The people are very threatening and loud. And finally, I have to issue very stern words of warning, which is basically step away from me. If you attack me, I'll have to draw my weapon and put a bullet through your head. I've said these words many, many times at many different rallies, at which point the police decide to intervene. At that point, they will come forward and they will restore public order, just as they did in this event.
Okay, let me interrupt you something here. And I'm no lawyer, I'm no judge, I'm just a regular guy. And my point, this is the hour about love supposed to be, okay? And what is sad to see here, I want to be straightforward, there are things I agree with you. There may be things that don't agree. For example, I know you got some personal, opinion about the militia and all this stuff. I just, maybe we disagree there, but I don't go and come on your face and call you names. I try to focus on the things we agree and we move on. Okay. After all, if that's your opinion, that's fine with me. Okay. That's the bottom line. But, what I'm trying to say to everybody of us, and this is just as a friend. I'm not trying to preach. We have so many problems in this country right now. And if somebody, we don't like what he's saying, we shouldn't be acting like the other side, like, this Black Lives Matter, that they go there and trash and crash and beat, they use violence. We should at least respect each other. And we should come to a point, hey, we disagree, fine. I can call your name, that's fine. But there is one point that I'm black and white there. And this is especially because, I'm not a victim. And I think especially in this state, we are not victims. And we have the right to defend ourselves if we have to. We have the right to stand our ground if we have to. And we should be smarter than that. They say an armed society should be a polite society. And I agree with that. If I'm at the rally, like I remember when I was in California, and people come like a speeding distance. They can speed on my face. They can hit me with a knife in a split second. I would have a big problem there. I don't want anybody, at least in 21 feet on my distance, if they come with a threatening attitude. Okay, if they want to come there and talk politely, that's fine. But if you come here with the attitude you try to threaten me, I have the right to defend myself, especially in the state of Arizona. And I'm saying, I'm not taking any side. At this point, we'll see what the judge says. All I'm saying, though, why do we have to do that? Why do we have to use all this extra energy to create this extra problem Why all this was supposed to be a very simple, peaceful rally that you put together. People can come there, don't agree with you, that's fine. But at the end of the day, nobody must become confrontational, if almost physical, invading somebody else's space. That's my point. I give you the floor.
Well, it's an excellent point, and frankly, it's a point or a question you should ask Mr. Whitaker. But you said something in your statement that is interesting to me because I know what you mean. You talked about 21 feet. 21 feet is very, very important because, as you know, they teach police officers if you let a potential assailant come any closer than 21 feet, then your firearm is essentially useless because he can jump at you and get at you and put a knife in you before you have a chance to draw it and to use it in self-defense. So basically, if they come within 21 feet, you no longer have self-protection with that firearm. In fact, it can probably be taken away from you by a bigger, stronger guy and used against you. Well, of course, that's exactly what happened. There wasn't any physical clash, but he came up within 3 or 4 feet of me, completely negating any protection I might have had from use of the firearm. And from that point, he's screaming and yelling and behaving in a manner which certainly frightened me. And so you'll have to address the why as to him. I don't have an answer for that.
Yeah, no,
and that will be resolved on Monday.
And this is, of course, it was a rhetorical question. And my point, as I said, I don't care if we agree or not on things, Roy. We may have things we agree, we don't disagree. But the point is, even when my worst enemy, okay, that I do not agree, I do not ever go on their face and try to provoke him to something that could escalate in a physical and most dangerous, violent reaction. I think that's wrong. That's all I can say. And then, anybody can say about us whatever they want. That's fine. That's their opinions. I couldn't care less. Seriously. So all I'm saying, we should learn from this. I'm trying to use this as a learning experience. That's why I want you back on the show. And as I said, I'm glad that you did this event. I'm glad everything went smooth. I'm sorry that this happened. For people that we're supposed to be on the same side, I don't say that we need to agree on everything, but at this point, I hope we can learn from this, especially for people.
Well,
Go ahead.
I hope so, too, and I hope at some point we have the opportunity to discuss the word side, because I'm a nonpartisan. Mm-hmm. I don't take sides, and nobody takes my side on basically an issue. My side is always the strict and real meaning of the First and Second Amendment and the rule of law in terms of expected behavior. Now, some people say politically people share the same viewpoint. I don't share any of Mr. Whitaker's viewpoints. Mm-hmm. And when Mr. Whitaker did what he did, I would never engage in that kind of conduct. Yeah. And Mr. Whitaker is very well known as a gun right activist. He goes to a lot of different gun rights meetings, and he carries firearms openly and concealed. And so was justifiably very much afraid that something very terrible was going to happen. Fortunately, it didn't.
Let me explain when I say side what I mean. I want to be sure I don't get misunderstood. For me, side, first of all, it means side of the American people. We are American people, okay, number one. Side of being law-abiding people, that we do not try to harm other people. And we believe in the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. And we believe in sovereignty, and we believe in our basic rights. Among those, the Second Amendment. That's my side. That's my side. That's what I say.
And I agree with that. But unfortunately, Mr. Whitaker does not believe in that. He believes that citizens should pick up arms and actually attack the federal government. At least that's what he says in his postings and so forth. And so there's a very difference of opinion there. I'm not on Mr. Whitaker's side when it comes to picking up arms and going after federal officers with firearms.
I mean, either. I don't know, Lisa. I didn't hear that, and that point is, as I said, I didn't see that. And if he said that, I don't agree either. But let me ask him. I need to talk to him. I really want him on. And this is, I hope, is going to be a conversation. My only goal here is to try to say, hey, guys, why do we need to go and put more pain in our life when we can pretty much, there is enough square footage around here. We have enough even the city of Tucson that is pretty condensed compared to where I live in Mohave County in the state. We have enough space for everybody. Can we just find our own space and be in peace? That's my bottom line. Can we somehow coexist and focusing on the real problems that we're going to face right now in this country with the economy, with this sort of a police state and all this stuff coming down from Washington and our government? That's my goal. That's the only thing I want to say. So I want to give you the floor another minute, whatever you want to say. Then I need to move on. I'm going to call Whitaker. Hopefully he's going to be on the show. I want to give him, just the same message I gave to you and listen what he had to say and move on. And my only message for the listeners is this. We have freedom of speech, and that's fine. But please, let's respect each other, safe area. And I'm not here one of these little, how you say, these university spineless kids that they want the space zone. I'm talking about, don't you come within 21 feet on my face with harmful intention, because I have the right to protect myself. I don't want to do that, but don't put me in the spot. Period. Simple as that. After that, I give you the floor. Go ahead.
Okay, I understand that, but we have to be very clear here. I was engaged in a peaceful rally, and Mr. Whitaker approached me. He was the one that approached me and started issuing very angry words in my face. So as to everything else you said, you have to ask him, why did you do that? It wasn't both of us doing it. It was him coming up and commencing this personal attack upon me, coming close, invading my space. It wasn't a matter of two people equally engaged in a conflict. It was one person behaving peacefully and lawfully, and then Mr. Whitaker approaching me and doing what he did. You'll have to ask him as to what his motivations were and all of that. But let me also be clear. The First Amendment does not protect what Mr. Whitaker did the day of the rally. It doesn't protect you from going up in front of somebody, getting within 3 feet of them, and screaming and yelling personal insults. That's not First Amendment protected speech. It may be words that are issued at a rally, but that is not an exercise of protected speech. The courts have said that's a violation of speech, and they call it fighting words, and they also call it a heckler's veto, in the sense that if a heckler like that comes up and starts yelling at you and the police let it go on, the police can then use that as an excuse for stopping the entire rally, because they say public safety is endangered because two people are fighting. And then they stop the entire rally and none of the message gets out. So it's a tactic. It's a police tactic, and it's very disruptive, and it's not protected by law.
Okay, listen, I appreciate you coming back, and I agree with you. There is a point that this is just my humble opinion, I would never come to you to start to do something like that, even if I disagree. That's my point. I can tell you on the microphone and megaphone or whatever, but I wouldn't come in your space area where it could become almost physical. But at this point, I pray that, whoever's going to be the judge, maybe is going to tell you guys, you got to get out of my face and stay away from each other. That's honestly what I hope, because I always hate when we bring this situation in front of judges that they really love, some of them, to remove people's rights. I hope they're going to give a warning to both of you and just stay away from each other and move on with life. That's my only prayer as a person.
You see, Mr. Whitaker brought this action. This is Mr. Whitaker's action.
I understand.
He's trying to get the judge to take away my right to a firearm and to stop my demonstrations. This is not my action against him.
I understand.
It's his action against me.
I understand. That's why I don't like that. This part I don't like. If we have a problem, we should be people that even if we have sometimes moment of weakness, so we become a little bit not too much civilized, but at the end of the day, let's try to deal this as adults. We don't need to bring, there was no crime. There was, at least, I'm not saying crime, but there was nobody got harm. Okay? Let's move on. We don't need to go in front of a judge. That's all I'm saying. Listen, thank you very much. I pray everything's going to be good, and I appreciate if you can give me an update when all this is over in the next couple of weeks. Or at least the
I will give you an update after the first hearing, but there's going to be many more hearings after that. This is just step number one, and I will certainly, every step of the way, give you an update as to what happened.
All right, Lisa, thank you very much, and I pray the best that is going to be somehow this coming out peacefully and in a way that nobody got to, I hate the idea that somebody like you or anybody out there that doesn't deserve it because, from what I see, the facts, has to lose the Second Amendment right. That's, for me, irritates the hell out of me. That's my personal thing. But anyway, let's move on. Keep me posted, okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Roy. Okay. All right. That was Roy Warden. Now, I want to call Cody Whitaker. And I say, I have no agenda. I don't even know the guy. And I never really met even Roy Warden. All I see the fact here, I would like to use this opportunity to the show to say, wait a second, guys, why do we have to come to this point? Why do we have to get at this level? You know, we have enough serious problem in this country right now. I mean, we shouldn't go and create, you know, if you don't like somebody, just stay away from that person. That's it. We don't need to talk to him. Let me see if he answers, okay? Let me see if Cody is answering. I'm calling right now. I even did a warning. Okay. You know, his post, normally I see him on Facebook. Seems like a decent guy, at least.
Hello.
Hey, Cody, it's luca-zanna. How are you?
Hey, how you doing, man? Sorry to...
No problem. Is a bad time to call you right now?
No, it's not actually. It's not a bad time. I'm just working on an order of contempt against Roy Warden.
Yes, and that's why I called you, because, you know, I want to be fair here. You know, I try to, if I give somebody some little time to somebody, I want to give the same time to the other person. Okay, I'm not here to judge. I don't want to judge anybody. My only goal, honestly, if I could dream, I would say, guys, you know, we got enough problems. Let's try to sort it out in a peaceful way. That's all I'm trying to say.
Well,
but regardless,
I can promise you, Roy Warden is all about himself. He's not going to be worried about trying to, you know, make you know, amends with anybody. You know, once he's been offended by someone, he just goes, you know, full bore. I
want to give you the floor, Cody. I want to give you the floor. I want to just give a little introduction, okay? Because I already had Roy Warden on the show just a few seconds ago, okay? So I wanted to bring you.
I need to hear what he said, though.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm going to play for you, okay? Meanwhile, I can tell you the story. I want to give you the floor, and I'm going to play this on Sunday, okay? So the idea is very simple. I watch. He did a rally, and I tell you exactly where we came to this conclusion, okay? He did a rally. He was there. You don't agree with many things about him. There are some stuff, honestly, I don't agree myself. The only thing I saw, though, there was a situation that you went there and you went close into his space, okay, into his personal space. And he felt...
That's not true.
Okay.
That's actually not true.
Let me finish that. I want to give you the floor. So I want to give you the update. You know, then you. I don't want to play 15 minutes what he said. You can listen on Sunday. I'll give you just the short story for the listeners. Okay. You went in front of his space, and he started to feel threatened, and he told you something that was pretty strong, coming down to a point that it was almost like a warning of self-defense. Okay. And at that point, from there, all this went out of degenerating, and you press charges for a restraining order or whatever it is. Now, that's pretty much what I know. I wasn't there. As I said, I just watched a little bit of YouTube's part, and then I can give you at the end my opinion like I gave, and it's just my personal opinion, doesn't mean anything, like I gave to Roy Warden. Now, I'll give you the floor, and I'll shut up. You say exactly what went down, what you think. And my only goal while I'm doing this, I don't want to use the show to bring personal problems among people. No, because I would like to give this as an opportunity for the listeners to say, hey, guys, we may agree or not agree, that's fine, but we should respect each other. And more important, we should have a freedom of speech, but at the same time, there is a line that our freedom of speech should not cross when it comes down to try to go in somebody else's space. That if we feel intimidated, especially in Arizona, we have the right to stand our ground. Simple as that. Now I give you the floor. Go ahead.
Okay. First I'd like to start off by saying that I was invited down to go to that rally on about 20 or more occasions by Mr. Warden himself. He cajoled me. He antagonized me. And anyway, I was there at his invitation. Now, I don't know what he was expecting, when I showed up, but it's only reasonable that after the way he treated me prior to the rally, that, that I would be, a little bit agitated about what was going on. So, in no way did I ever get within his personal space. I stayed 6 feet or more away, and the only time we were closer than that was when he walked toward me in order to reach across and grab something out of his bag, and I stepped back at that point. So I never conveyed any threats against the man. I never, said I was going to attack him. I merely asked him, to explain why he called me out, and he refused to do that. And he began to, again, make disparaging remarks about me. I mean, he says that I wear a gun like a little girl wears a push-up bra, and the fact of the matter is that I hardly ever wear a gun, and, if I've done it, he's never seen it, so how does he know how I wear it? So, it boils down to the fact that I didn't play along with his orchestration of counter-protesters, which he prearranged. You know, I became kind of a collateral protest against what he was doing. And if you read his writings before and after the protest, you can see where he clearly set the supporters of Lavoie-Finicum up to accuse him as being, you know, a bunch of armed redneck hick thugs that want to overthrow the government. And, you know, especially afterwards, he comes out and basically says, you know, because, you know, nobody followed his example, that he's just abandoning them and that, you know, they're not worth his time. And so the long and the short of my participation was to go down there and to call him out. You know, in no way did I, you know, assault him. I didn't get within his space. He didn't like the way I was there because he doesn't like the First Amendment being applied to him as he likes to apply it to everybody else. So I didn't have a loudspeaker like he did. So in order for me to be heard or overheard against his loudspeaker, I just had to yell. And so, you know, I didn't use a mechanical device to project my voice. I used my own voice. And again, you know, I never got within his personal range, you know, and I could see how he could be offended by what I said. But, you know, that is no excuse to threaten someone's life by putting a bullet in their head simply because you disagree with what they're saying.
Okay.
So he definitely overreacted.
Okay, as I said, I'm not judge and I'm no lawyer. I'm just a regular guy. I was even there. My only goal is this. And I wanted to give you both the opportunity to share your views, number one. Okay. At that point, there's going to be a judge who will decide whatever he thinks is right. That's the bottom. But as a person, you know, I know you through Facebook the last couple of years. You know, we share most of the values. I don't say we agree on everything, but, you know, we have a lot of things in common. Like I have some also other things in common with Roy. And by the way, I have a lot of things I do not agree with Roy. When I came down that I read a letter, I must tell you, I wasn't impressed myself. And sometimes I know that he has some problems with the militia, that I think it's a very good word, especially in the state of Arizona. It's in our Constitution. But even if I don't agree with Roy, this is my personal opinion, I don't even need to go there and tell him in person, like, you know, like happened with you. But that's if you wanted to do that.
Well, you know, you have, fortunately for you, you have your radio show, and you can put, if you disagree with somebody, you can put out something like that. I don't have that means.
No, I understand.
So
I'm saying, even if I don't have the show, let's say, for example, I don't agree with you. Forget about Roy, okay? Let's say there is something we don't agree. And I try to focus, first of all, the things we get along. And I think, as I said before to Roy, our enemy is supposed to be right now. It is in front of us. Shouldn't be behind us. Shouldn't be among us. We have enough problems. You know, this country's been taken over. We have our federal deficit is going to be completely going to put us out of business. We have no more jobs. I mean, we have police state. I mean, how many more things? They're killing us in plain view. Look like what they did to Lavoie. We're supposed to somehow, even when we have people that we don't agree on some stuff, we should have at least some respect as Americans. Hey, let's for a moment. Well, that's my only thing I'm saying. You know, that's what I'm saying.
I agree, Zana, but here, you know, there's a general respect, which, you know, I grant to every man, but there's also a respect that must be earned. And if you go around publicly attacking people and saying that they are supporting an armed insurrection, that they believe that they should interfere with the federal marshals executing their warrants and the like, and you should point your guns at them to stop them, you know, and saying those things falsely, you have just abolished, you know, any respect that anybody owes you at that point.
Oh, I understand.
So
I understand what you're saying.
That puts me, now listen, please.
Yes.
That puts me on a defensive position because I am the one that's being accused of believing that, and I'm the one that's being accused of being affiliated with organizations that I am not.
Okay.
So I have to step forth, and in that situation, Roy invited me down to his event, you know, over 20 times between February 14th and the day of the rally, which was March the 4th, and, you know, just cajoling me and on and on and on. And, you know, I believe that my appearance there actually got to show him for the coward that he actually is. He would not let me speak. He invited everybody to the microphone except me. And, you know, it was just a litany of things like that I had enough personally, and I believe that it was well worth it to call him out. He's not what I believe that he presents himself as, And that's why I call him a drag queen patriot.
Okay,
so,
now what's happening? I know that there is a legal action that you started in court in Tucson. I think it's going to be happening next week or so. What did you do exactly so we can understand exactly? Was it a restraining order?
Well, basically that's what it is. It's I went down on Monday and petitioned the City Court of Tucson to grant a protective order to make sure that Mr. Warden kept his distance from me within the city of Tucson and, to prevent contact. The judge did not issue any orders except to set a hearing. And so the hearing is about my petition and the things that I set forth in my allegations.
Okay.
And then subsequent to that, since that judge did not issue an order, I went to the Pima County Superior Court and I petitioned the judges down there to issue an injunction against harassment for the same reasons that I cited at the city, and they did grant the injunction. So now that's moving forward, and I don't need to comment a whole lot more about that because those are both legal actions.
Yes. Let's keep it away. No, I'm just talking for generic, without even more details about that. The point is, with or without the judge, I think it would be the most reasonable things that you and him, Roy Ward, you shouldn't share the same breathing space. That's for sure. I mean, there is so much space in Tucson. I'm sure you can. I mean, if I was you and if I see him at a coffee place, I would go to to a bar. I would go to another place. I mean, it's pretty natural. Okay, we don't like each other. Let's get away from each other. That would be the most normal.
I agree with that.
And we don't need a judge. I mean, I don't know the guy. As I said, I never met him like I never met you. But if he's a regular guy, and I think even with his own differences, I don't think he wants to create. First of all, he's older. I don't think he's a. I saw you. You look like a good, big, pretty much healthy guy. 20 years younger than he is. So I don't think he's so crazy that he would go close to you and trying to initiate any type of confrontation. Because I tell you, I would be, unless, I don't want to go there. But my point is, I don't think he wants that. Okay? The point is, why don't we just stay away from each other? And why do we even need to get a judge involved into this? When I have problem with my enemies, let's say, I don't have many enemies, but, people that I don't like, I like to always sort out things as two adults, me and you. Let's say we have a problem. I say, okay, man, we don't need to stay around each other, but I don't want to involve more government in my life. I'm over 18, okay. You're over 18. We are civil. I know that we are not criminals. At least I know you, that you don't have records, and that's all I care. If you were maybe different person, that you are wanted by the law and you have felonies on your back, I would probably treat you differently. But if you're a person that, even we have differences, I would say, you know what, let's just stay away from each other. And let's move on. Why do we need to get...
I agree with you, but I had to act preemptively because he had previously stated on Facebook on numerous occasions that as a result of that encounter, that he was going to request injunctions against harassment against me.
Okay.
And so I can promise you that you do not want to be in a defensive position when it comes to those kinds of things. And so that was his choice of venue, and that's what I went down and did.
I understand.
Before he did. So I'm not going to sit back and just wait for somebody to convey a threat like that and not act on it.
I understand. And, and there's going to be a chain reaction, and then he's going to do his own injunction and blah, blah, blah. Guys, I hope that, first of all, I'm glad nobody got hurt. Seriously. I'm glad that somehow, even with this problem, there's going to be a way to hopefully put this all behind in a civil way. That's my point. And my only point was this, we may have among us, Americans, I'm not even saying which side, because I believe if we are Americans, we believe in Bill of Rights and our Constitution, we are on the same side, even if we disagree on some other issue. That's my only goal here. Even if we have differences, we should find a way to be civil to each other and to respect at least the space area of each other, okay? I mean, I have a microphone, that's fine. I can go there and talk about ideas, opinions. But I tell you, let's say I had a problem with you, okay? And I don't want to, say I don't like Cody, or you don't like me. I don't need to come in your face and tell you that I don't like you. Because at that point I know that the next thing is going to be, we're human beings, you may be a cool guy, but at the same time it could be also that you have some emotions, and rage is part of the emotion, and I'm going to provoke a situation that I may get a slap on my face if I'm lucky. Maybe I can get more otherwise. So I try to I avoid that situation, I try always say, okay, We can exercise our First Amendment. We can also, have our opinions on people. Sometimes also they're supported by facts. I tell you, I have things that I don't agree with Roy. When he wrote a letter about the Finicum, that you show me that, I thought it was really out of place. But still, I have other things that I may agree with him. But the bottom line, I would not go on his face and try to create, even I don't want to create, but indirectly I create a situation that could be opening to major disaster. That's all I'm saying.
You have to face it. You have to face one of the problems that we have, Zanna, is that when we are on Facebook in public groups, we are actually in public. And when you post something or I post something and we make it derogatory or antagonistic about another party, we're actually in their face. We're in their space at that point. And, Arizona law actually provides for anti-harassment statutes.
No, I understand.
So,
the harassment part, I understand.
Please let me finish.
I'm sorry.
So, despite the fact that I've withdrawn from making any statements about Mr. Warden on Facebook publicly, he continues to do it. So, I'm not sure how wide his audience is, but the long and the short of it is he's damaging my reputation by deceit. He's damaging my reputation by deceitful acts and statements, and to people that I don't even know, and that someday I might even encounter in public, and the first thing they're going to do is judge me by the impression that he presents them with about me. Okay, so everybody in their individual capacity has the right to defend their character when it's falsely attacked. And that's simply all I'm doing.
No, I agree with you. Listen,
so
I'm with you, Cody.
I do not want it to get to this point, Zanna, but unfortunately, this is where he escalated to. So I have to act in defensive ways to prevent further damage. And
Cody,
if there's a way that we can mediate this and resolve it without it going through all the steps, of the court system, that's a good possibility, and I might be open to that.
Okay, good. I like to hear that. I think this is great. It really show that you're a grown-up person. I respect that. My only point is this. Listen, I agree with you. Somebody say things that can also endanger me on Facebook. It's not about just any more opinion. Somebody can say also lies, and then they can give a completely bad idea of who I am. You have the right to defend yourself, and I agree. My only point is one, to go and create indirectly a situation that could be open to, unfortunately, something more than just, defending my reputation. I can defend my reputation if somebody says something. For example, I am a child abuser. Okay, bet you I'm going to go after you with all the legal system I can afford. Okay, because I am not, and my reputation must be defended. I agree with you. Somebody said that I'm a criminal, and I am not. I have the right to defend myself. But I would not try to give him the opportunity to go in front of him or close to him that then can degenerate to a next level. At that point, I would use every legal system to stop that before even we go there.
That's what has us at this point, Zanna, because he has said I'm dangerous, that I have guns, I'll use my guns against the police. I mean, he's making all these remarks about me that are false. And they're absolutely trying to paint me as some sort of a thug, which he's used that term numerous times, and I'm not. I'm not anything of the sort of the kind of character that he's trying to paint me as being. So that's why I'm standing up, because my reputation is worth defending.
Cody, you are my Facebook friend, and I normally select my people pretty well. If I had heard anything like you were going to do anything violent or illegal, you wouldn't be my Facebook friend. Okay, we may not agree on many things or on some things, but for sure we respect each other. And the same thing with Roy Warden. Okay, otherwise I would have as my Facebook friend. But I tell you right now, one thing, and I know he's listening, Roy. This is the hour about love, okay? I'm not some Francis of Assisi. I'm not a priest. I'm just a regular guy. I got my own problems, okay? But as a fellow American with an accent, if I could ask a favor to both of you, to Roy Warden and Cody, you don't even need to see each other, but to put at this point behind, without any more bringing in judges, the system that we know is corrupted anyway, because the system all it wants to disarm us all. You may be all end up in a bad situation. I hate that. I want every person that we have right now be able to be exercising all your rights. Okay? So I would hate the idea to see something that would go, unfortunately, Cody, you know very well, person like yourself, not because you've done anything wrong, just because of your political opinion, unfortunately, you are on the list. We know that. If you believe in, like I am, if we believe in the Constitution, if we believe in a Bill of Rights, if we believe in our First Amendment, in our Second Amendment, we're already there. The same story with Roy Warden. We may not agree with him sometimes on what he does, but the same story is on the list too. Now, I pray, and you do what you want. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but this is just my little prayer. This is the hour about love. Let me preach for a second. The Roy Warden and Cody Whitaker, for a moment, as Americans, you had a little problem. You say, screw the judges. We're going to go there as a civil people. We are law-abiding people. We may have moment of rage, moment of weakness, but guess what? Nobody got harmed. Shake your hand if you want, otherwise don't shake it. But guess what? Let's just stay away from each other. Let's save the money, let's save the time, and let's focus on taking this country back. That's all we should do, according to our own version. And that doesn't mean that we need to agree, but the point is let's stay away from each other. Life is short. One day we're going to look this back, when we're going to be old if we make it. Very hard in these days thinking about that. I say, my God, how much time I wasted with all this garbage when I could spend time with my kids or my loved one, and instead I had to work into these painful things like going in front of a judge or getting a lawyer. I could have used that time spending with a lawyer and the money, maybe go on a vacation, maybe go to the range, maybe just have cooking a meal, watching a movie. I don't know, man. Life is short, seriously. That's all I'm saying.
Well, that is my preferred method, and I would rather have left it alone. But, at the point he began to threaten me with getting orders and stuff like that, I had to act,
Okay, I said this to you, and I say also to Mr. Warden. Roy is listening. This is just a prayer. It's not like a request or demand, because I'm nobody. I'm just a guy here with a microphone. But as a fellow American, that I wasn't there, nobody got harmed. I know the wars come out a little bit out of control but guess what? Nobody got harmed. Let's move on. Let's stay away from each other. Let's focus on life. Okay? That's all I say. At least I want to thank you to be here. I appreciate that. And if there is any good news, and I hope for me the good news would be that everybody goes back to the merry way, let me know, would you?
Yes, I will. That's my hope, that these things can be settled, out of the courts and all that kind of stuff. But at this point, I'm left with no choice. And so I have to continue this way until, he contacts me appropriately to request some sort of mediation, and then maybe we can look at that. But that is the best I can do at this point, and it does not appear that he's inclined to bury the hatchet as it is.
All right, listen, maybe after this, I don't know the guy. As I said, I don't know you. I just say hope. Maybe after this,
I think your intentions are honorable, and I believe that is the correct way to handle things, is peaceably and decently in good order, and discreet. You handle. If you have disagreements with someone, you should handle them discreetly.
I mean, I look at this like right now that tomorrow you could be, or Roy could be the person that could save my life and I could save your life. I'm talking about this extreme. And people say, what are you talking about? Yes, if you understand, fine. If you don't, I don't care. We are so close. And we should count on each other. Even people that normally we don't like, people normally wouldn't spend the time to breathe air close to each other. We're still Americans. And our enemy is supposed to be, it is unfortunately, in front of us. And is ready to charge. And we need each other. We need unity. And I don't say that we need to get along with everybody, but at least let's respect each other in a peaceful way. That's all I'm saying. Okay?
Sure.
All right, man.
I'm with you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, and I pray. This is the hour about love. As I said, I would like really to be one day, maybe if even this show accomplished this little goal, that Roy, and Cody, they somehow put all this legalese paperwork away, and they, as Americans, I don't even need. If you shook hands, would be great. I would love that. That would be a movie time. I start crying, okay? But even if you don't do that and you just move away from the court system, you can keep this civilly as a self-responsible people. I would be so proud and make this show worth it. That's the only purpose why I call you, okay? All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, guys, listen. Don't go away. A little song just to settle the ambience, and then we go back to some more news. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with luca-zanna. Don't go away. Here we go, guys. That was Temptation Music by myself, luca-zanna. As I said, I really meant it, I really would love so much to think that maybe even just through this little humble local radio show that is not local anymore. Now I know that I got listeners from Germany, Scotland, Europe. That's great. But I would love, I'm a little guy, okay? My show, it's pretty much nothing compared to some of the big names out there. And on top, I don't care because I don't even want to be on the air. I'm just doing it because I really think I'm trying to do my best to do what I'm supposed to do. But I would love so much the idea that maybe, dream for a second, because of this little interview, this opening that I wanted to create between those two American people, they disagree, of course. They had some rough time. I also know they've been helping each other in the past. I know that after all that, they're not bad people. And I'm not saying that I'm here to say who's good, who's bad. But I tell you, you wouldn't be my Facebook friend if I thought that you were a criminal or if you were a person that lacked integrity. Okay? If I smell you that, I would be dumping you immediately. So I know that both of you guys, you have some good qualities. You may have also your own problems. Sometimes, we are human beings. We're being stressed, tired, sometimes confused, and life. We say things that we didn't mean. We do things that we probably would have done differently. But at the end of the day, if there is no harm, nobody got touched and nobody got harmed. Things can be stopped, can be fixed in a friendly way. That's really my goal, why I want you both on the show. And as I said before, I wasn't trying to be dramatic. We may really need each other very soon. More than ever. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I have people that I can't stand. Guess what? I don't go to them. I don't go on their face. I just ignore them. And I try to do it also online. I block them. Why should we go, let's say, why should we go and start to harass people and saying things that probably may be inaccurate over and over and over to create this situation? Seriously. That's all I'm saying. We have a lot of problems already. Let's not make more problems that we don't have to. And we need each other as Americans more than ever. And I would help, I tell you, even people that normally I don't like, I would help them out. The moment comes, I would help them out with my life. That's the bottom line. And I know you guys, you would do the same for yourself, for each other, So that's all I can say. Now, back to us. Today's show, it's kind of strange. Sometimes I plan things, then new things come. And this hour, I wanted to do some interesting phone calls. For example, I'm planning to call, I'm not going to tell you, maybe I should tell you. I like to do this little prank, not really pranks, but let's say semi-serious phone calls to some of our friends, Like when I called the EPA a few months ago, I thought it was an interesting call, because sometimes we can make our appointment with a little bit of irony, a little bit of sarcasm, a little bit of, fun, okay? Okay, next week, unless there is something bigger coming on, I want to call the United Nations, especially the office in charge of small arms treaty, gun confiscation around the world. So I want to turn my guns in. Hopefully I can be able to talk to them. It's going to be my next call. I want to do this today. So that's pretty much the story. Now, back to us. I talked to you about before the coffee, and I really appreciate it because when you purchase a bag of the Zanna coffee, it is not just, you buy a regular bag of coffee. Of course, my coffee is great. It's organic, it's fair trade, and it tastes great. This is a great coffee that really, it took me months to find the right blend in the right place where I went to import it from. Anyway, so it's also you help the show, seriously. Because my time that I'm dedicating to the show, it may be just a 3-hour show, but you have no idea, more and more, to try to create a product that it's worth listening, try to get you information, the guest, and follow up with things. It takes me time, really. And I have so many things in my life I have to do. I'm just a regular guy, okay? I don't have a crew here. I'm just a regular guy. By choice, I could hire people. I don't want to. I really don't want to deal with that stress. So I'm just trying to do what I can. I need your help. So please, go to zannacoffee.com and buy a couple of bags. By the way, if you buy 3 bags, you got a super discount price. And for orders over $99, you get also free shipping. So that's all I'm saying. You can support the show. You know, we don't need charity. All we need is to give you a good product, a good service. And don't forget also to go to freedomlovers.us. It's a free, completely free. I don't get paid for that, but I like to do something that I hope one day you remember. That I hope you can find the boyfriend or the girlfriend of your life. Freedomlovers.us, the first free dating site for free loving people. Okay? That's the bottom line. We love freedom and also we respect each other. That's it. I think for today we're done. Don't forget to share the show. I appreciate it. If you can get on lovegunsfreedom.com, you can find there the list, and now bottom there is the Spreaker link, or even better, go to the page today's show. There is the YouTube. Share it with friends and family. Seriously. And because this is also your show. And if you want to be on my show, very simple. Go to lovegunsfreedom.com, send me an email, and if you have any topic that is related to my show, I'll bring you in. No censorship, no editing. Just keep your language FCC compliance, and everything's going to be fine. That was pretty much everything for today. And you've been listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with luca-zanna. And God willing, I will talk to you next Sunday.
Wake up, America, before it's too late. They're trying to make you fade away. They're trying to kill your faith. Every day you're invaded, your soil desecrated. Politicians turn their back. You're under attack. You're under attack. They're trying to erase your borders. The UN wants to give you orders. They're trying to sell you pride.